crucial to remember the significant aspects of things like governance, provenance, and of course the impact of technology on humans, ensuring that as we innovate, we do so responsibly and ethically, with a keen eye on the broader implications for society. Now, and the last thing, and I think that's also a little bit the theme of this event, is the no silo thinking. Because as this event unfolded yesterday, it became, in my perspective, abundantly clear that the convergence of technologies like AR, VR, AI, decentralized networks, not only amplifies the individual strengths, but also creates this synergistic effect, driving unprecedented innovation and transformative impact across a variety of sectors. Now, what is the program for today? Another day filled with some very exciting keynotes and roundtables. Really looking forward to this here at the main stage. But also, we have outside a showroom area where you can see all kinds of very cool industry tech demos about metaverse. You can use a Apple Vision Pro. Well, there's a lot of cool demos. So during the coffee break, during the lunch, I really would like to encourage you to go see the demos. They're actually here on the ground floor. But also, really interesting, I saw a huge group yesterday joining for the guided tour to this very, very beautiful digital art exhibit based on the Dutch masters Johannes Vermeer and Hieronymus Bos. This art exhibit is located in the Reality building, the exciting new hub, also one of the two co-organizers of this event. And if you would also like to enjoy this art exhibit, then please stay with us until after lunch, because then another guided tour will be facilitated, so that you can join and enjoy the art exhibit. Also today, we welcome you interacting with the speakers and the roundtable guests. I mean, yes, they will share a lot of inspiration with you, but from the start, we really encourage you to take part in this conversation. For this, we're going to use Mentimeter. Mentimeter is actually allowing us to, directly already from the start of keynotes and roundtables, giving you actually the opportunity to hand in questions. And all the questions, they will be sorted, filtered, and they will end up in at my iPad, of the host of one of the roundtables. And then they can, if time is permitting, of course, ask the questions. Yesterday we got, for I think every speaker, we got so many good questions. I think we got like 10 questions for every speaker. So sorry if I'm not, selecting your question. That's not because of you. I don't see your name. It's really because, time is just not permitting us. But all the speakers, they will be with us during the coffee break, during the lunch. So if the question is not asked, of course, you're invited to join the speaker during the lunch. Now, before we're going to start the program, I would like to invite one of the co-organizers to the stage. And he is a gamer to the bone, already overclocking his computers when he was a teenager. So he had like better graphics as a gamer. And he has been working here at the high-tech campus as a business developer. And with all his experience as a gamer, they could not think about a better person to lead this exciting new lab here at the high-tech campus. Also one of the co-organizers of this event, Reality. Please give a warm welcome to Philippe Werle.
Nice, it works. Good morning, good morning. Same as yesterday, I used to game when I was younger, and I really love the expression gamer to the bone. I think that nobody ever said to me, gamer to the bone, but I really like it. And yeah, indeed, who's here today the first time here? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, okay. So like half the people. So yeah, I actually did indeed when I was younger had an NVIDIA graphics card, and I overclocked it. There in Germany is a newspaper called Computer Bild Spiele, and they gave tips to people how you can overclock your graphic card. So I did it because I love to play shooters, mostly with a story, but then actually in good graphics. But I did it too much, so in the end the graphic cards got too hot. and the old desktop PCs, I had to get the whole side off and put a fan next to it. So those were my first experiences here. And of course, yeah, I joined the high-tech campus in the last year as a business developer, emerging tech. And then the topic of the metaverse came up, was probably quite high in the hype cycle. And suddenly those companies like Nvidia and Epic Games came back, but this time not in the teenager world or in the entertainment world, but suddenly these companies, they come back in the professional business world. And I wanted to briefly tell you, okay, why do we as High-Tech Campus or as Triality co-organize these events? And that is basically because of the heritage here of Philips. Philips started this High-Tech Campus, I think in the 60s, and it was their R&D hotspot. And a lot of innovation came from Philips, and it's really impressive to see what actually this company did give birth to in the world. So, can you check one time for the? No. It's a really great slide. Yeah, yeah, really. That. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's. Ah, here it is. Perfect. So yeah, coming to what I just mentioned. So basically. Yeah, here you can see all the innovation that has been driven by Philips. So the company started, and you see some really big companies that add a lot of value, at least to the world here. And probably the most famous one at the moment is ASML, but you can also see here NXP, semiconductor company, who's also resident here on the campus. So they did spin out a lot of successful companies, and they are quite focused now on the healthcare domain. They also had yesterday here a talk about how they use immersive technologies. So, but basically, Philips has been really a catalysator of innovation with an open innovation approach. And Philips then over the years basically became a resident of the high-tech campus. And the high-tech campus became really an ecosystem that is set up for open innovation. And this is what you can see here now. So this is the current basically high-tech campus. So we as campus site management want to facilitate basically the ecosystem that is here. We always talk about ecosystems, so I think it's really good also to highlight it here. It's not a business park, so they are not just they're not companies only here. So you can see on the top right here are corporates, but if you look at the bottom, a really important part, of course, here also the research and knowledge institutes, so like TNO, IMEC, and in the end, all these different clusters that you can see here really create a very inspiring environment to drive innovation. And as this company, or not this company, but this region is also quite known for hardware, so really to develop products. We as High-Tech Campus also did a survey with the residents already 3 years ago. What new technologies do you see that should be added to the ecosystem? And back then already one of the most important topics was AI. And that's also the role that we have then here as a high-tech campus. So we ourselves are engaging in different innovation hubs here on the campus. So you see Triality, the hub for Web3 and immersive technologies. You see the AI Innovation Center is basically a hub to institutionalize the knowledge of AI here in the region. Also a workplace vitality hub together with TNO and IMEC, where a lot of research is happening around the best environment for people to do their, basically work and have a werkgeluk. How do you say, work happiness? Good translation, yeah. And the 5G hub together with Vodafone, Ericsson, with Vodafone and Ericsson. And the two hubs, AI Innovation Center and 3Reality, there we are really very involved in the setup. And basically we want to really help build up this cluster so that at the hubs in the end, there are the companies in the AI domain that are basically growing there, that we can have events on AI at these hubs, and in the end that it can become like a one-stop shop, so to say, if you want, for people who want to learn about AI, who have a problem, and that we can help in the end also the whole region to apply these technologies. And that is the same for the 3Reality Hub, the new one that we are setting up here on the campus. Will open in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We have a bit of construction delays, so that can happen. Happens to the best. These are the residents of the AI Center. I don't go into detail here now. But this one is quite a nice slide. I liked it because we had here Richard van Hooijdonk. He had a talk here at the high-tech campus, and he talked about also ecosystem orchestration. And he said also that it's quite important to manage insecurity, that companies basically have those innovation cells, how he called it, that they can also place at innovation hubs or at in these environments to adopt new technologies. And that's also a crucial component in the end for the innovation hubs here on the high-tech campus. So here you can see one time the exemplary setup of an innovation hub ecosystem. And I used here the 3Reality Hub that will open soon. So you can see in the middle, this is the innovation hub community. So also people like you who are interested in our events and join them. And around it, we have the 3 clusters. So on the one hand, the new companies that are emerging from that domain. So the makers, entrepreneurs, startups and scale-ups. So you can also see here already the first residents that will move in the hub, companies that are engaged in digital twinning and in virtual reality applications and solutions. On the bottom, you can see the partners, such as Metacampus, with whom we work today, Epic Games, or the Design Academy, with whom we engage in projects to also drive that domain further. For example, with the Design Academy, we have a project that they develop a small digital twin here of a part of the campus. And of course, then in the end, to also be a place for larger organizations and their innovation cells where they can connect with that community. Yeah, and this is in the end basically the tribute, so to say, that we want to also pay to Philips to further grow that legacy of innovation here on the high-tech campus. And I brought also here 2 impressions for you from the 3Reality Hub, because we really try to embed also these serendipity moments in the setups of the hubs. So here you can see what the hub will look like. Quite a lot of nature involved, because we know it's good for the people, and you see it also here on the campus. But if you look on the right side, you see there also at the hubs we really put smaller event spaces for around 50 people, that you can have really focused events here. And we also place them with a co-working area that you can create these really serendipity moments. Yeah, so that's quite important for us, that there people can really meet and engage with each other, so that in the end from that great ideas can sparkle and hopefully be carried out in the world. Yeah, having said this, I wish you a great day with the speakers here, and yeah, let's rock it.
Thanks. Fair. And you will send around an email with more information, I guess, to all the guests that were here with us today, with all the upcoming events, how people can actually join this exciting initiative.
Yeah, exactly. So also outside there's a banner, and there you can see in3reality.com. So basically there you can also find the website with the info on the hub and also the upcoming events. Yeah, and otherwise, please also always free to just directly talk to me if you have questions. I will be here outside.
Yeah, it was just beautiful what you mentioned, like the ecosystem orchestration, right? I mean, I think you guys, you worked also you're still working at the high-tech campus. I mean, you already did an incredible job with creating this melting pot, right? Facilitating all these serendipity all the time here at the campus. So I'm really, really, really excited about this new initiative. And we're also going to organize a big Web3 event, I think, at the end of the year at the Hub, right? Together.
Nice. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
I would really like it.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Philip, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. Don't want to fall off, because then we'll get quite some noise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we already extensively spoke about the gaming sector. Now, I'm working quite a lot with Dutch music festivals, using NFTs, revolutionizing the way experiences are really monetized and experienced. During the lockdown, we saw a couple of these very cool virtual festivals taking place. Tomorrowland, the one in Belgium, that gained around 1 million virtual visitors, and also the Dutch proud DEFCON, a more hardcore festival. They got 7.5 million visitors to their virtual festivals. Now, with more and more fully decentralized virtual festivals popping up, I had a conversation with our next speaker, and he told me that some professional esport players nowadays who participate in his events spend more time in the virtual world, even after lockdown. Even after lockdown, they spend so much time in the virtual world than in the physical one. These players are essentially the first colonizers of the new world, living and working in a realm that many still view as a game. Now, and it's very cool to see what's actually happening at these gatherings, because social bonding in gaming is really incredible. Because he told me, the speaker, that several marriages already have formed at events. And even the children coming out of these marriages are now joining their parents in their events. Our next speaker will delve in the transformative power of decentralization and the fresh brand opportunities it brings to the industry. Can I have a warm welcome to Arturo Castello. Welcome, Arturo.
Thank you, Jan.
Clicker for you. Good luck.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arturo. I'm really thankful to be here in Eindhoven and in this crazy high technology partner that to me looks like a Fortnite map. So how many of you are gamers? And how many of you play games? Okay, all of you play games or have played games. So when you play a game for the first time, you are called what? You are called a noob, right? And when you are a noob in a new game, in game communities, it's really hard because you make a lot of mistakes. Some people hate, and it's difficult. So today I'm a noob because this is my first conference in English. So please, don't hate and help me because I'm going to make mistakes. But being a noob is good because you learn a lot of things, and otherwise you will be playing the same games all the time, and that's not fun, right? Okay, so be with me. I've been working in the gaming industry for 15 years now. I'm 50. I remember when I played my first Atari, when my father came home with the first Atari, so I'm fortunate enough to have seen the whole gaming revolution from the beginning. And I'm really fortunate and I'm very grateful to work in the gaming industry for 15 years because to me, play and gaming and play, it's really important. It's taking over cinema. It's been the main culture phenomenon in our century. And I think play is good for humanity and good for all of us. So when I listen to people say, I used to play when I was a kid, I used to play when I was a teenager, I think, okay, I'm 50, I play every single day, and I think it's good for everyone. So my goal and my mission in life is to make people play. And I do festivals and competitions for people to play professionally and also amateur. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about esports. So what do you think when you think of esports? I guess by now all of you have heard about esports, and maybe you have this image. People playing games professionally. When I started, esports players were amateurs. They didn't have all this cool stuff. They were playing in very difficult situations. They had to travel all around the world with no revenues, no finance. It was very difficult, but now has become something professional. You see professional teams with trainers, with coaches, with psychologists, with nutritionists. It's becoming like a proper sport, like a professional industry. You also see this. You see some other people watching someone playing games. I remember 10 years ago, I used to go to televisions to try and sell the media rights for esports competitions. And a lot of people told me, I don't really understand how people are going to be interested in watching some other people playing games. Do you guys think the same? Is anyone thinking this? Yes? Okay. So 10 years ago, it was very difficult to explain this, but at some point, I realized that the best way to explain it is if you play tennis and you like playing tennis every day, do you enjoy watching Rafa Nadal playing tennis? Well, it's exactly the same. If I play Counter-Strike, and I play Counter-Strike with my friends every day, I really enjoy watching the best Counter-Strike player in the world playing because I learn, and it's fun to watch it, right? But it's very obvious, but 10 years ago it was very difficult for people to understand. And now you see this. And you see things like this. When I started out, this was very common in Asia, in places like Korea, but now it's common everywhere. I think this is from Cologne. It's a competition called Intel Stream Masters. So some people pay 600 euros, 1,000 euros if you go to the VIP area, and we fill stadiums all the time in many cities in Europe, in America, in Asia. So it's becoming a big deal, right? This is the cover of Sports Illustrated, and this is FaZe Clan, which is the most popular esports team in the States. So at that point, being on that magazine on the front cover was a big deal as well, because that meant that the traditional sports industry was recognizing esports as something relevant, right? And then FaZe went public, and it didn't work out. So some people started to think about hype, okay? Another similar case, ESPN. We all know ESPN. And I think that was, I cannot see the year, I think it was 15. Again, ESPN dedicated a whole issue to esports and gaming because it was becoming the next big thing. And we had a whole League of Legends reportage in this issue. You all know League of Legends, right? Okay. But after that, and especially after COVID, we started seeing the numbers going down. And we realized, and a lot of people said, okay, the esports boom is becoming something which it wasn't as big as we thought of. And then, I don't know if you're familiar with this term, but we started calling it a sports winter. Right? So in only 10 years, from Amazon buying Twitch up to after COVID, the whole industry started to decline, apparently. So what happened? And now I'm going to share my theory, and I think what I'm going to say applies to many other industries, not only in the entertainment industry and sector, but in some other industries as well. And the goal of this talk is to try to understand how decentralization can help these things from happening, right? So we have to go to the beginning of everything, which was a LAN party. How many of you guys went to a LAN party in the 90s? Okay, cool. Right. Before the LAN parties, before we had internet, we had the real beginning of gaming with the Atari and the first arcades and the first PC gaming and all that. But then we had the LAN. The LAN, for those of you who don't know what a LAN is when we didn't have internet connection at home, or we didn't have a powerful internet connection at home, so we had to get a group of friends to a friend who has internet connection, and then create a local area network. That's why it's called LAN, and we were able to play against each other, right? A little story, I remember my father used to work in computers, and I remember going with my brother to his office, and he had a LAN, not for gaming, just for work. So there were two computers, and then my brother was there, and I was here, and I say, and I had to write hello, and my brother could read hello at the same time. That was like magic, right? Yeah, magic. And it was maybe 35, 40 years ago. Right, so a few years after, we could play games in the LAN, okay? And then it became something bigger. And these are LAN parties. A lot of people taking the computer, taking the keyboard, taking the headset to a crazy place somewhere in the middle of nowhere to stay there for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, playing all day long, and night as well. This is DreamHack. DreamHack is based in Sweden in a place called Jönköping, and at some point had 9,000 people connected to the same LAN for, I think it was 3 days and 3 nights and 4 days. So this is where everything started and where esports started. This is another picture of the same building. This is very similar to music festivals. Remember the first music festivals in the 90s? It's the same concept. People getting together to share a passion, in this case, gaming. In the music festivals, you have also drinks. Here we have Monster and Red Bull, right? But it's very similar. And what you share in the passion is electricity and games, of course. So what we do in a LAN party, and why people come to LAN parties other than game. So it's a community-based place where we create, we participate, we play, we share, we hack, we build, we explore, we discover, and we learn. And remember this because this is important for what is coming. This is why we go to LAN parties. It's to create, it's to share. It's a community place. This is a story of esports. I'm not going to go into many details, but you can see that esports started in '72 with a tournament that was hosted in a place very similar to this one, to the high-tech campus, but in Stanford. And it was hosted by Stewart Brand. Who knows Stewart Brand? He's the founder of Whole Earth Catalog, and he used to be in the counterculture movements in the 70s and 60s in the States. And there's a big connection between that and all the internet culture. So he created the first esports tournament. And then we can see all the steps up until the esports winter that I mentioned before. One thing that is important is that most games are mods. Mods are modifications of games that already exist. For instance, Counter-Strike is a mod, League of Legends is a mod, Dota 2 is a mod. That means that it's community created. It's not a company that creates it, but it's a group of friends who are hackers. They take a product that already exists, and they create something new. Very similar to hip-hop music, for instance. Right? Now companies are doing that, like Epic Games. Epic Games is doing that with a creative mode. So they are sharing the tools of creation with the users, so they can create user-generated content, right? But this was invented, so to say, in the 90s, in the LAN parties. Okay, so the whole of esports comes from there. But when it started to become something big, we wanted to be a serious industry. And a lot of stakeholders came to the industry to professionalize esports. And then things started to change. First one is we took the traditional sports as a model. And we became obsessed with growth, really fast growth. And we tried to turn the player from a part of the community to a spectator. So we lost the control of the narrative. And it started going from the community to the corporations, right? So that's the first step. Again, this is my personal opinion. Some other people in the industry don't think the same. That's how I see it. So the first perversion of the narrative is that we go from players to spectators. And there's a reason for that. If I want to monetize the esports with advertising, I need to turn the gamers into spectators. And if we make them watch the same content, we can sell media rights, because this is how it works in the traditional sector of sports and entertainment. The second one is that we have to stop the creation and make creators into consumers, because otherwise it's very difficult to sell advertising, because they are not going to be watching content. They are going to be building, and that's fun, but it's not really monetizable. And the second one is to turn the community into a target. So we can sell the content to the people who are paying for the business, which are the advertisers. And last one, we are going from long tail to oligopoly. You know, we all know long tail. Gaming is a long tail economy, which is form of many infinite products from different sizes and different kinds because it caters to a great list of potential buyers. This is what Amazon is, a long tail model. But it doesn't really work like that. We prefer to group all the consumers in a few products and in a few platforms. It's the same what happened with Facebook, with Meta, for instance. We had many different social networks, and then somehow they managed to bring everyone into 2 or 3. So with games, it's very similar. We had a lot of streaming platforms, and now everyone is on Twitch or YouTube, and that's it, right? But my point is, what happens when you apply these techniques from the last century to a century which is completely new, right? Because everything that I just said is related to how the media industry and entertainment industry worked in the 90s and the 2000s, before we had the internet. With internet, everything's changed, and the consumer is used to something different. And these techniques just don't work. So if we try to apply that, because we are thinking how we can make esports similar to traditional sports, we get to this. The consumers or the community disengages, they're not interested anymore. They prefer to go back and play rather than being watching League of Legends like a passive spectator, and then we get to the esports winter. Okay? So this is the analysis, and then how we get ahead. What do we do now? So some people say, this is it, esports was hype. It's not going to fly anymore. Or some other people are saying, let's put more money. Let's put more money, let's make the companies bigger and see what happens, right? I think we have to go to the beginning. We have to look at the origins of the phenomenon, which is the LAN again. And we have to remember why LANs were so successful. And it wasn't only because we didn't have internet. Because when we had internet at home, we kept going to LAN parties. We do LAN parties. That's what we do at our company. And the LAN parties are big and people come. And they probably have better internet at home, but they keep coming to our festivals. Why? Because they like to do this. They come to do exactly this. And now our goal as an industry is how we take this into this. This is a picture of one of our festivals. How can we scale this and make it a scalable business, both online and physical, what we call digital, in a sustainable way in the new economy? How we take it to the next level. So we are thinking about what are the key elements of a LAN party, and those are security, autonomy, decentralization, participation, diversity, and ownership. We've been doing this for 25 years in the LAN parties without being aware of that. We didn't know the terms, we didn't know the theory, but we were doing it. So this is very similar to the new promise of the Web3 economy. The Web3 economy is going back to the origins of the internet culture, and in this case, the esports culture, using blockchain. So my point and our point at my company and some other companies in the industry is that Web3 and blockchain is the next step, the next logical step for the evolution of esports, which is very difficult to say because as we see in some other industries, most of the gamers are very negative about blockchain and crypto and Web3. Super negative. It's really tricky and really risky to go this way. So I'm saying this here. I'm not saying this in my festivals. I have to use a completely different narrative. So how we are doing it? And again, we are starting, right? We know that we have to do it. We are the first ones in the industry doing it. And I mean, not in the Web3 gaming industry, but in the Web2 gaming industry. We are taking the risk to go Web3. So we started doing Web3 games competitions 2 years ago. We are using crypto as a payment method, and we are training and helping people to learn about Web3 with medium success. That's not a big interest yet. What we are starting to do is we are going to tokenize our user experience. We believe that to make this LAN community, this engagement with the users in a proper way, tokenization is a way to go. Because it allows us to do online what we are doing already offline. We are also transferring the decision-making to our community, so they become the owners of the festival as well. They decide what they want to do. They decide what they want to promote and to create. And also, with the content partners, which are publishers, such as Epic Games, or Supercell, or some other content partners, like broadcast platforms, we also want to transfer ownership of the relationship with our festival using tokenization. Some of them, again, they don't really believe in the concept, or they think they want to do it in their own way. And what we know we will take when the time is right for it is to transfer the ownership of the whole festival and the whole brand to the community. So we want to become a festival which is totally decentralized and owned by the community and all the stakeholders. And we want to do integration with publishers and commercial partners. We are already doing that with some Web3 partners. And we want to also decentralize the global expansion. For the last 15 years, I've been part of our global network of gaming festivals, and we were a traditional franchise system, which is good for some things and really bad for some others, depending on which side you are, of course, right? So we want to do our global expansion model, which is decentralized using blockchain. And we know there are a lot of challenges. These are the challenges we know of. The first one, I mentioned it before, gamers' perception. It's really difficult to share this with the gamers because they have a very negative perception. But it happened before. For instance, when we started having streamers and influencers and content creators, what we used to call YouTubers, that wasn't very popular in our festivals at the beginning. And now it's becoming commonplace. So we see that gamers are open to learn new things, and they probably will be the first ones doing mass adoption of blockchain in the new economy. The second one is industry adaptation. Both publishers and other festival operators and other stakeholders are really slow, and some of them don't want to take the risk, some of them don't believe in it, but I think it will take time, but it will happen. And then the technology risk. That's very difficult. We are talking to many potential partners. It reminds me of the streaming platforms back in 2010, 2011. There were many streaming platforms around, and one of them won the party. It was Twitch when it was acquired by Amazon, and all the others almost died. So I see the same with the chains, right? With the blockchain. Who are you going to work with? Who are you going to partner with? Are they going to be alive in 2 years? Is this technology going to be the right one? Do you have to choose another one? So that's difficult. We are listening to experts, but we see that it's a tricky moment to do this, right? So these are the challenges, but this is like a game for us. So we love difficult games, and we enjoy the challenges, so we are very happy to be in this position. And this is it. So any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Thanks so much. I think your English was great, right? First keynotes.
Yeah.
You could follow it all the time. So many thanks for that. What is your favorite esports?
Esports, StarCraft.
StarCraft?
Yes.
Okay. I was always esports. It's also a little bit more of like Formula 1 gaming and that kind of stuff. But it's StarCraft. Interesting. Yeah, that's usually when I speak about things like metaverse and I ask people like who is actually gaming. Yeah, nobody is, but their children are, and then they start to understand how this works with the economy and like getting in-game purchases and that kind of stuff. I heard that if you look at the gaming sector, then you have to combine the turnover of the music industry and the movie industry, combine it. multiplied by 4, and then you get the turnover of the gaming industry.
And the gap is growing wider and wider every year.
But as people don't game, like I guess here in the audience, most people, they don't do any games, virtual games. They also don't understand the insane impact and size of this industry. But,
and let me tell you about that, because a lot of people now know about Roblox and Fortnite because probably your kids are playing Roblox and Fortnite. And that's why you know about it. But there are some other games, like EVE Online. Who plays EVE Online? It's a crazy game where thousands and thousands of people play every day, and there's a whole economy around it. So there are many different games like Roblox and Fortnite for adults. But you have to be a gamer to know them.
You have to, yeah. And there was this beautiful article, I think, in the Wall Street Journal about kids don't want cash anymore. They want Robux. Right? It's the in-game virtual currency. All right, so there's many questions coming in. Many thanks for all the great questions. Let's light the candle. What about the compete or impress aspect in gaming and the community belonging elements?
The compete.
Yeah.
Well, esports is all about competition, but gaming goes beyond that. If you think about why people play, we have different profile of players. We have explorers, we have achievers, we have killers. Killers is a way to say in that if you play tennis, you have to beat the other one. You have to kill the other opponent, right? So you have to win or lose. But only a few people play to compete. Most players play to do different things.
Just to entertain themselves.
Just to become part of a community.
Yeah.
And that's very similar to the Web3 community, for instance.
Interesting. Now, the next question is about many platforms conversed in Facebook, and then it become an irrelevant mess of collective chairs, resulting in a formation of other native platforms. And with that in mind, do you think merging would work?
Merging platforms? Yeah, please.
Closer one, uniting them into a limited number of games and bringing a one platform rather than distributing among everything else. So,
okay, what's the question?
Yeah, I get it. But sorry, that was my mistake because probably it wasn't explained correctly. But what we are trying to avoid is going that way. The industry was trying to go that way because if you put all the players in 5 or 6 games, it's much easier to monetize them. But if you're a gamer, you know that you have many different platforms and infinite games. And that's why that industry is so rich and so interesting. And we have to keep it that way. My point is that we have to keep it that way. We have to keep being long tail and find ways to monetize that in a creative way without having to go to monopoly, because when we go to monopoly or oligopoly, the consumers disappear because they're not interested in that.
Another question, I think that's a beautiful question on convergence from gaming and blockchain technology. Why do you think it's so hard for gamers to understand tokenization, especially considering that they are builders and not compete for tokens?
Yes. Again, a story from back in the days when I started going to gaming festivals in 2010. 2009, I already was a Twitter user, right? I was using Twitter a lot. I remember going to these festivals and nobody was using Twitter. And nobody was using Facebook. And I said, wow, this is crazy because gamers are social. They're not using social networks, but they were. They were using social networks like IRC and many others, right? Yeah. They were very social, but they didn't believe in Twitter yet because it was something from outside the community. So with tokens, it's a bit of the same. We are using token-like elements in our games since forever.
You're not using any cryptocurrencies, right?
We are using some crypto in Web3 gaming, but the first examples of those have been a bit tricky, so to say, a bit scammy maybe. So the impact has been very bad for the gamers, and gamers don't really believe in that yet. But they already use elements of crypto or crypto-like in the games since forever. So they are, once the first adopters start doing it, it's going to be like super fast.
Yeah. Wow, I think that's a beautiful closure to your keynote. Arturo, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll put it here. Wonderful. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we continue the conversation about cryptocurrency because in the early days of Bitcoin, it was often dismissed and criticized as a fleeting trend or a speculative bubble. Many doubted the potential and questioned its legitimacy. However, as time has progressed, the narrative has shifted dramatically. And today, digital currencies and blockchain technology are on the forefront of innovation, with numerous companies developing their own tokens and embracing token economies. Now, last year, I organized the Dutch Blockchain Days, an event on everything blockchain here in the Netherlands. And I had the head of JP Morgan with me, the head of the blockchain and crypto solutions from JP Morgan. And he told me that only JP Morgan is already moving, and yes, this number is real, $7 trillion of money every day. So they move it all around the world. And they did a report with Oliver Wyman, and they found out that by actually replacing all these transactions, the traditional financial systems, replacing it with a tokenized system, they could save $120 billion of transaction fees only every year. Wow, these are staggering numbers. And he already told me that JP Morgan is now developing all these token systems for companies like Siemens. Now, today, we're really honored to have two distinguished speakers who are really leading this change in a transformative space. And they will share their insights in how emerging brands are redefining their customer value propositions through the use of digital tokens. Please welcome Vincent de Vos and Arturo Castello. And the panel, hey Vincent,
Thank you, Jan.
welcome, and welcome again. And the panel will be hosted by Pérez. Pere.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hope that you enjoyed this session from Arturo on the evolution of gaming and how an industry that was really promising is now suffering from some of the traditional business models. And today we're going to have a roundtable debate that is slightly different to how we normally run them, because we have Vincent, the founder and CEO of Chainforce. Chainforce is a company developing tokenized business models for startups and venture capitals, and then you will explain a little bit more about it. And of course, Vincent is trying to help Web2 brands adopt some of these new economic models to develop their business plans and their business growth. And Arturo, as we've heard from his conversation, he has OWN, which is the festival of entertainment and gaming, and is looking to tokenize that model, looking to potentially decentralize the brand. So more than a roundtable and a debate, we're going to have like a live pitch of Vincent trying to convince Arturo about why adopting these new models is the way forward, and addressing all the concerns that you may have. And that is a way of us thinking how we can approach our traditional businesses in Web2 in creating collaborations, new initiatives, new spin-offs, adopting and experimenting with these new business models. So, Vincent, tell us a little bit about Chainforce, what you do, what you offer, and how you can help us here.
Yeah, thank you, Pere. Nice to meet you all. So I'm the founder of Chainforce. I come from a computer science background myself, studied here in Eindhoven. Got interested in crypto around 2016 when I actually discovered that Ethereum made their blockchain programmable, basically turning it into a decentralized cloud for value administration. So I understood that with new ways of administrating value, the whole design space around solutions would open up. That was for me the reason to found Chainforce, to really offer research and development of models that would more explain and help clients, which are typically founders, but also venture capital, to understand the whole blockchain technology and the whole decentralized finance movement that it brings, and how tokens, which are digital assets placed on blockchain infrastructure, which represent rights or value, how they can be used in innovative ways for both the business and the clients, and innovate their business models. So that's what Chainforce is doing. We're based here in Eindhoven as well, but we work with clients globally. And whether it's research and design or like actual economical modeling and validation, we help our clients in these initial steps before going to market.
Thank you. And I believe that from the initial client list that you have already, they have a combined valuation of over 300 million, if I'm not wrong. What type of companies, what type of clients you've been working so far?
Yeah, so there's very, I would say, on the right spectrum, really decentralized Web3 native clients that can be protocols, fully built on-chain with smart contracts. And then we also have clients that come from a background of Web 2. They have traditional business models anchored in also traditional finance. And they can be, let's say, exchanges. They can be very community-based, let's say, platforms where they have users using the services. And they see the possibilities of using a token to really increase engagement, increase user retention, and new ways of distributing value with the entire ecosystem instead of just their own business.
Okay, just to give you an example, because we're talking about tokenization, we're talking about how to build value or distributed value with the community. You're touching a point on terms of using the token as a way of building loyalty, building a sense of benefits with the brand. Just to put a very tangible example, if you look at my shoes are Pepper flies. These are normal shoes, but they're actually an NFT. They come with tokens, and then we're all part of a community that's linked to further virtual benefits. And then whenever they bring a new model into the market, we do have priority ordering with limited stock and so on. So this was a new brand created about 2 years ago, and then they've been creating what is a physical, very traditional product built on the tokenization models or on the new Web3 ethos. And that is just an example. But Arturo, tell us a little bit, what do you expect? What are your goals from when you talk about tokenizing an entertainment festival and building a global network out of this? What would be your brief? What would be your goals that you're trying to achieve?
Okay, so the idea is how to understand that using tokens is going to be better than doing Web 2 traditional strategies, right? So if we start with marketing, and we all believe in having a love brand. We want our consumers and users and visitors seeing our brand as a love brand, and we've managed to do that after many years with our festivals. People thought about our brand as their own brand, right? And also, we want them to be telling us what they want. We want to be consumer-centric, and we want to create content for our festivals that really attract the people, because otherwise they won't come back. And finally, we realize that the type of marketing that works better is the member get member. When you get a happy customer telling other people to come, right? So we've been experiencing this in a very nice way without us doing anything, but also we've been trying to do it and promote it using Web 2 traditional marketing strategies. And we realize that tokens can be a very useful tool for that. So we want to understand how we can implement that and why it's going to be better than the traditional Web 2 strategies.
Yeah, so by offering a token, you are basically immediately connected to the decentralized finance aspect, so all the innovations that are happening there. Plus, the token is a way for you to also technically be able to provide ways of ownership, creating a better connection with your audience. you can actually ask them to use that token, which is then guaranteed to be for one of your festival visitors or somebody endorsing it, to cast a vote on-chain, which is 100% guarantee that it comes from your audience and your customers. So I think those two come to mind. Then you are also capable, depending on how you connect your business model to the token, to actually incentivize economically by providing tokens for people that have a certain level of engagement or perform certain activities or that refer people to your festivals, which are all being unlocked by the decentralized infrastructure in finance. That's basically you get that as a gift by by introducing a token.
Okay.
So we're talking here about benefits for users. We're talking about governance, about the ability to participate and to influence the future to have your voice heard about the future of the event. And we're also talking about privacy when we're talking about users as a token. But we're tokenizing the user base. I understand that there is a different level of privacy compared to the traditional way of gathering data. Is this something that concerns you? How do you solve this issue around privacy in terms of, okay, I have my users, they'll have tokens that will give them benefits, but I may not know directly those users. How do you feel about this?
Well, I think, anyways, it's becoming more and more difficult to go through that with the standard actual social network, for instance, because privacy is getting more and more important, right? And I think this option is much better because our visitors don't see themselves as someone that is going to be targeted to for advertising purposes, for instance. So it's a better way to engage with them. And we as a company, we don't really need their data because we are going to be knowing them through the things they do rather than through what they are. And also, and we go to the second part of the plan, is to connect them with the other stakeholders who are the B2B partners, the brands. Our business model is to connect our visitors and gamers and players with other companies that want to interact with them, such as sponsors, right? So again, as you know, it's very difficult now to let them interact with them because of privacy. But if we can create a token that is co-owned or maybe operated between those two stakeholders, that in which way, I don't know, but it gives more options for creating together between the gamers and the brands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a good example for this, I think, exact use case, which is the Brave browser. They have this attention token where they reward you within your browser, watching like an advertisement, being exposed to basically the B2B aspect of their business. And by doing that, they get a token as a reward, and that token is actually capturing value where some parts of the revenue from those advertisers is streaming into that token. So you have a very direct connection then between those two parties.
So the revenue is shared by the brand or the partner, their user, and the platform, right?
So in essence, there is an ecosystem here, and when we talk about value creation and fair distribution, we're talking about providing benefits to everyone who is involved in the entire ecosystem. So the users, the gamers, for attending the event, for then participating on the online community initiatives, but also the content creators who may want to come and then launch their product, their game, their new creations within other platforms there as part of the ecosystem, and brands and enterprise partners that traditionally they invest as part of a sponsorship. Sometimes they provide the benefit in kind, like providing the computers, the screens, all of this. So now with this tokenized business model, we can reward everyone along the ecosystem for the effort and the investment that they're making into growing this brand together. But how do these brands can prepare themselves for actually being able to participate in a tokenized model?
it's very important to put priorities in what you want to address and solve. Because you can reward everything with a token in different ways. You can focus it on the more reward side, like monetization, but it could also be more focused on access and priorities and rights. So it's good to understand what it is that you primarily want to offer and then solve, and what kind of token or incentives and even regulations around that these days you need to address.
Because the one of the issues that as token at the end of the day is an asset that they needs to be accounted for within an organization, and that means bringing compliance on board, bringing the legal team, bringing finance. So how do we help these companies understand that they need to get their house in order, so that then the marketing and the brand teams can benefit from these optional benefits that these ecosystems can provide?
Yeah, it's not different than running a traditional business. It's just that you now are connected to the decentralized finance and the regulations. So it's the same things. You need to put the same things in order. You have the same responsibilities towards your customers and suppliers and your partners, but in a different industry with different risks and compliances.
How do you find, Arturo, the conversation so far with the B2B partners? Do you think that they're ready? Do they need a lot more of onboarding and educational about the adopting these systems? What are you gathering from your conversation so far?
Well, they're definitely interested. They really need to understand how and when. And I think it's helpful to use an analogy with the previous evolution of Web 1 into Web 2. When we all remember that we started telling the companies that they have to go to social media, and they had to start talking to the consumers and also letting the consumers talk back. At that point, that was really difficult for most brands, and it was very difficult to make them understand that either you do it or you do it because otherwise you're going to be left, right? So my question is, because that's what they tell me, are we in the same situation? Do you guys think that companies and brands have to decentralize sooner or later, but they have to? And also, I know it's not the same thing, but it goes together. They have to share ownership with the consumers?
Yeah, so in a sense, decentralization is a value proposition added to what you're doing. It can be to your business. And what's happening is that because the whole decentralized world is very open, the innovation happening there, the interconnectivity to, if you launch a token now, that token can be used already within an ecosystem that is so incredibly big with all kinds of utilities and tools, that at some point there will be solutions there that users want to use that they cannot do because you do things in a centralized way. Yeah. And yeah.
And the other question is, where do I go? Because going back to the same analogy, maybe you create this whole, remember the companies creating their own networks, right? Their own social networks. And then they had to just throw it away and go to Facebook, for instance, right? So here, it's very difficult to understand which one is going to be the technical way. And
this is actually one of, it refers to one of the questions from the audience as well, is that you're thinking of creating your own token or becoming part of a token that it already exists and it already has a demand and a circulation flow? What do you recommend on this type of scenarios?
It's really good to assess what's out there. I think we already have seen the shift on the blockchain level, where at the beginning everybody thought we need to create a blockchain. Now that we have these general purpose and specialized blockchains with different kinds of functionality in there, you see that it's no longer needed to build your own blockchain, but to launch a token on it. And I believe one of the biggest innovations we're going to see in the token economy, but that require a lot of organization and education, is these industry tokens or industry economies, where it's no longer silos for businesses, but actually gaming connected. And I spoke with one of the founders of a blockchain called Chili's. They have a token, you probably know them, yeah. They have a blockchain specifically for a sports audience. And as long as that token and the vision and the functionality they want to offer with it matches with what you want to use it for, then it's then you don't have to take the responsibility completely of setting up a token and managing your own economy. And it's not even setting up a token that's complex these days. It's the responsibility to manage that token economy and think about liquidity and value distribution. Yeah.
This actually refers back to another question from one of the non-believers in the audience who was asking, okay, can you give us an example of a successful launch of a token that hasn't gone to zero? I know that there are many, but I think here also the key question is, how do we make sure that we can launch a sustainable economic model behind a token? And that's one of the drives, and that's one of the concerns, that people do not have that perception of a speculation on anything that is token related.
Yeah, I really like that question. It's also definitely the most challenging one, difficult one. So when you launch a token, you are talking about a lot of the supply side of an economy, whereas on the other side you have your business, which is either your revenue model or the thing that generates value. And I think in the short term, much like the stock market, if you don't design it well, then you're gonna get volatility, and you're gonna get poorly designed tokens that cannot capture and sustain value. Because in the end, what you want to create is a token that can capture enough value from your business model without diluting in the market. So to imagine this, basic math, divide the economical value that you create by the total number of tokens that are going to address that economy. And you could imagine that as being the long-term token price. And I think in the long term, the longer we wait and the longer a token will be in circulation and be used for those purposes, the more likely it is it will attain that value at the end.
I hope that was a convincing answer. It was, to me, someone else in the audience is asking Arturo about, to give an example, where tokenization is used, as has been used on a B2B model. In fact, one of the inspirations for you thinking about tokenizing your festival came from Denver and the work that they had done in progressively decentralizing their brand. What can you tell the audience about, okay, what sort of things you've seen in the market that inspired you to go this way?
Well, Denver inspired us for the governance aspect of this, because it's a huge festival that is, I wouldn't say it's 100% governed, but mostly by the community. And we know, because we've been seeing it in our festival for many years, that when you get your visitors and your fans engaged, that's when everything works better, obviously, right? So they are using blockchain and a token to make that even more efficient, and using data to track it, because otherwise you have to do it in very crazy ways, and you have to guess a lot, and a lot of mistakes happen. So that's what we learned from Denver. But again, talking to B2B partners, such as one of our sponsors, they're always looking for ways to connect with their consumer audience in a way that is meaningful for the users as well. It's not just coming to the festival and placing the logo somewhere. That doesn't work, right? So we do a lot of promotions. We connect things and rewards that happen in our festival and our competitions to prices, or some, as you said, some advantages or privileges from the B2B partners. And we are starting using tokens for that, because it's a better way to do it, it's more safe, it cannot be replaced. So there's a lot of advantages there.
Okay, that's interesting. And we're still facing a lot of the skepticism that comes from things like the high energy consumption from the blockchain. Someone from the audience is referring that we still see plenty of posts on LinkedIn and other platforms that refer to this issue, which of course, what undermine the overall benefits of implementing a tokenized loyalty system. How can you reassure the audience that the way that the blockchain is going, is becoming more and more energy efficient, and how is that related to the sort of tokenization models that you define for your clients?
Yeah, so overall, everything has a cost. So also your bank account and the bank you're with will also incur costs and have an impact on the environment for the kind of infrastructure that they run just to administrate value. So not expecting that from a decentralized solution would be a bit strange. Then there are really initiatives and new blockchains that really focus on being set up in a green way. We have seen live, like at hand, that Ethereum has moved from a so-called proof of work blockchain towards proof of stake, which has gigantically decreased their offset and their energy consumption. So we can already see a trend that we see this as important. We see blockchains taking necessary steps to become more energy efficient. And I think we're going to see more of that.
I'm going to give a practical example because I'm not really technical on that side, but going back to marketing, when we have our VIP visitors to our festival, and I don't want to compare a festival to Tomorrowland, but they do something like that much better than us, of course. But we sell VIP passes and we send them to the houses of our visitors, and it's like a box with a cap and many other things. So we spend quite a lot in that, and we use physical materials, and that's probably worse for the ecosystem than an NFT, for instance. And we think that those users will rather get a good NFT than the other box. It's just a silly example. It's a practical example that we are seeing that we might save costs in many other physical things if we go to tokens.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, blockchain is a permissionless system, so every single credit card transaction, it has a middleman cost that is unsurmountable compared to the blockchain use. Any type of exchange in digital assets, in loyalty cards, and all of that, it does have a much greater energy impact and carbon foot impact that compared to any blockchain transaction. But it is also true that something had to be done, and a lot of work has been done in this area. We've also now have the layer 2 that is highly more efficient as well. We have plenty more questions, but we don't have the time. But we can use the break to continue. Just one final one that, which summarizes your thoughts. So, what precise set of problems are token solving for businesses beyond engagement? If you could give your final thoughts about, okay, what would be the 2 or 3 benefits? I think we've touched on that already, but what, as your summary, the 3 key benefits for businesses, and the same in your particular case, what would you tell the audience?
So what I think, and again, using the analogy of Web 2, Web 1, Web 2, the big evolution was going from the user being a spectator to the user being a creator. And it was created a user generating content, right? And we saw that with Twitch and YouTube and all that, and that changed the whole gaming ecosystem. And after the gaming, they changed a lot of ecosystems as well. So now we are seeing the same thing from my perspective. Gaming is always a bit more advanced because it's very technical and very advanced. And we see that decentralization and sharing of ownership is going to change things again, not only in gaming, but first in gaming.
Absolutely. And for you, final thoughts?
Well, by adopting a token model or introducing a token, you're really aligning the values of your business with that the blockchain offers. And that's transparency, efficiency, and new novel ways of ownership, which is good for every stakeholder involved in your business.
Absolutely. And I think that once we keep it to these simple terms is where other Web2 professionals will understand more and more the value without getting lost on the technical jargon and a lot of the bad press that we come from the speculative market and so on, which happen in all sorts of industries. So thank you so much for all your questions. I hope you find this valuable. We're going to have now a break where you can continue the conversations with them. There's so many questions to be answered about tokenized models that definitely is a worthwhile conversation. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, many thanks for this very insightful roundtable. And as we talked today and yesterday extensively about the convergence of technologies, often convergence comes from all these unexpected crossovers. And here in Eindhoven, we saw these simple examples like the Senseo coffee machine, but also, for example, the Stella, the world's first solar-powered family car. And they all started by this unexpected crossover between people coming together from different sectors and disciplines. So if we're going to break down right now for coffee, I would like to encourage you, each of you, to step out of your comfort zone and make the most out of this networking opportunity. Find somebody else just out of your network that you haven't met yet and introduce yourself, share your insights. And because usually there are these spontaneous moments, these conversations that spark the most innovative ideas and collaborations. So please don't forget to also visit the beautiful showroom where we have a couple very cool tech demos. And I hope you're going to enjoy the coffee break and hope to see you back at 11:30. Thank you.
I ain't worried about nothing, I ain't worried about nada. You're sitting pretty impatient, girl, I know you gotta put them in hours, baby, make it harder. You're sending pic after picture, girl, give me fire. You know I'm always on the night shift, and you can stand these nights alone. Yeah, you don't need no explanation, 'cause baby, I'm the boss at home. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 but I gotta put in work, 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 work. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 work. Let your body do the work, 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 work. We can work from home, oh, oh, oh. We can work from home, oh, oh, oh. Let's put it in motion, girl, give me a promotion. Let's make it feel like a vacation, turn a bed into an ocean. We don't need nobody, I just need your body. Nothing but sheets in between us, ain't no getting up early. You know I'm always on the night shift, and you can stand these nights alone. Yeah, you don't need no explanation, 'cause baby, I'm the boss at home. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 but I gotta put in work, 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 work. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 work. Let your body do the work, 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 work. We can work from home. We can work from home. We can work from home. I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home, oh, oh, oh. Loving you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home, oh, oh, oh. Loving you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know.
Wasted. The more I drink, the more I think about you. No, I can't take it. Baby, every place I go reminds me of you. Do you think of me, what we used to be? Is it better now that I'm not around? Our friends are acting strange, don't bring up your name. Are you happy now? Are you happy now? I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know. Every time I go out, yeah, hear it from this one, hear it from that one, that you got someone new. Yeah, I say but don't believe it, 'cause even in my head, you're still in my bed. Maybe I'm just a fool. Do you think of me, what we used to be? Is it better now that I'm not around? Friends are acting strange, they bring up your name. Are you happy now? Are you happy now? I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know. No more please stop, no more hashtag booed up screenshots. No more trying to make me jealous on your birthday. You know just how I made you better on your birthday. Do we do it like this? Do we really like this? Do we lay it down for you, touch your poop like this? Matter of fact, never mind, we'll let the past be. Maybe he's right now, but your body's still me. I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up, love you so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know. You gotta go and get angry at all of my honesty. You know I try, but I don't do too well with apologies. I hope I don't run out of time, can someone call a referee? 'Cause I just need one more shot at forgiveness. I know you know that I made those mistakes maybe once or twice. By once or twice, I mean maybe a couple of 100 times. So let me redeem myself tonight. 'Cause I just need one more shot at second chances. Yeah, is it too late now to say sorry? 'Cause I'm missing more than just your body. Oh, is it too late now to say sorry? Yeah, I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say I'm sorry now? I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that
Every time the sun goes down, I'll let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my word and close. And tonight had something wonderful. A better this little lies and live alone. Conversations with a stranger, barely know. Swearing this will be less, but it probably won't. I can let lose or use or do my better this little way. I stare in space, and I never lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way, and now I can't escape. But there's nothing substitute. It's true, my better this little you. My better this little you. My better this little you. Every pure intention ends when the good times stop. Falling over everything to reach the first time spot. Started on a million lies and then it all got dark. I only know how to find way to the long way round. Burn till one red out. Better the crystal nights and live alone. Conversations with a stranger, barely know. Swearing this will be less, but it probably won't. I can let lose or use or do my better best little way. I stare in space, and I never lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way, and now I can't escape. But there's nothing substitute. It's true, my better this little you. My better this little you. My better this little you.
You were the shadow to my light. Did you feel us? Another star, you fade away. Afraid our aim is out of sight. Wanna see us aligned. Where are you now? Was it all in my fantasy? Where are you now? Were you only imaginary? Where are you now? Where are you now? Another dream. The monster's running wild inside me. I'm faded, so lost, I'm faded. These shallow waters never meant what I needed. I'm letting go, a deeper dive, eternal silence of the sea. I'm breathing alive. Where are you now? Was it all in my fantasy? Where are you now? Were you only imaginary? Where are you now? Atlantis, under the sea, under the sea. Where are you now? Another dream. The monster's running wild inside of me. I'm faded, so lost, I'm faded, so lost, I'm faded, I'm faded, so lost, I'm faded, so lost, faded.
Atlanta, oh na na. Oh, but my heart is in Havana. There's something about his manners. Havana, oh na. Didn't walk up with that, how you do it? You said there's a lot of girls he can do it. I knew him forever in a minute. If Papa says he got all over him, he got me feeling ooh. I knew it when I met him. I loved him when I left him. He got me feeling ooh. And then I had to tell him I had to go. Oh na 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 na. Havana, oh na na. Half of my heart is in Havana, oh na na. He took me back to East Atlanta, oh na na. Oh, but my heart is in Havana. My heart is in Havana, Havana, oh na na. Just graduated, fresh on campus, yeah. Fresh out East Atlanta, with no manners down. Now pump, 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 put like a traffic jam. Hey, I was quick to pay that girl like Uncle Sam, yeah. Back it on me, shawty craving on me, get digging on me. She waited on me, shawty kicking on me, got the picking on me. History in the making on me. Point blank, close, drink that beat. If it costs $1 million, that's me. I was in moolah, baby. Havana, oh na na. Half of my heart is in Havana, oh na na. He took me back to East Atlanta, oh na na. Oh, but my heart is in Havana. My heart is in Havana, Havana, oh na na.
Holding on a rope got me 10 feet off the ground. I'm hearing what you say, but I just can't make a sound. They tell me that you mean it, then you go and cut me down. But wait, you tell me that you're sorry, didn't think I'd turn around and say that it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Said it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Yeah. Take another chance, take a fall, take a shot from you. I need you like a heart needs a beat, it's not from you. Yeah, yeah. I loved you with a fire red, and I was turning blue. And to say sorry like the angel, haven't let me think it's you. But I'm afraid it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Said it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Yeah, yeah. It's too late to apologize. It's too late. It's too late to apologize. It's too late. Said it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Said it's too late to apologize. It's too late. Said it's too late to apologize. Yeah. It's too late to apologize. Yeah. Holding on a rope
Try and figure love on the regular when you could be blowing up just like my cellular. I would never let a shawty got me set me up. Only thing I need to know is you'll be wet enough. I'm talking slick back, kick back, gun sipping 40s. You can play not another day with a shawty. Mismatch fits that was way before you know me. Got a lot of love, but you better save it for me. Like games of love to avoid the depression. We've been here before, and I won't be back. Why do you want to know? Fucking round up and right now. I ain't trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to play cool. Baby, I ain't playing by your rules. Everything I'm better with a view. Why you always in the mouth? Fucking round up and right now. I ain't trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to play cool. Baby, I ain't playing by your rules. Everything I'm better with a view.
We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore like we used to do. We don't love anymore. What was all of it for? We don't talk anymore like we used to do. I just heard you found the one you've been looking for. I wish I would have known that wasn't me. Cause even after all this time I still wonder why I can't move on just the way you did so easily. Don't wanna know, can I dress your wearing tonight? See, holding on to you so tight. We acted before. I overdosed, you know your love is a game. Now I can't get you out of my pain. Oh, it's such a shame that we don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore like we used to do. We don't laugh anymore. What was all of it for? We don't talk anymore like we used to do.
I just hope you're lying next to somebody who knows how to love you like me. Must be a good reason that you're gone. Every now and then I think you might want me to come show up at your door. I'm just too afraid that I'll be wrong. Don't wanna know if you're looking into her eyes, if she's holding on to you so tight, the way I did before. I overdosed, should've known your love was a game. Now I can't get you out of my brain. Oh, it's such a shame. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore like we used to do. We don't love anymore. What was all of it for? We don't talk anymore like we used to do. Way I did before. I overdosed. Should've known your love was a game.
Now I can't get you out of my brain.
Oh, it's such a shame.
We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore like we used to do. You don't love anymore. What was all of it for? We don't talk anymore like we used to do.
I saw you dancing in a crowded room. You look so happy when I'm not with you. Then you saw me, caught you by surprise. A single teardrop falling from your eye. I don't know why I run away. I'll make you cry when I run away. You could have asked me why I broke your heart. You could have told me that you fell apart. But you walked past me like I wasn't there, and just pretended like you didn't care. I don't know why I run away. I'll make
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back at the second session of day 2 of GM Eindhoven. We're here met something new. Somebody new? I already saw everybody. That's nice, great. Again, this is also not just about inspiration, but also bringing people together, all these like-minded enthusiasts. Now, we're talking about all these technologies, but I'm curious to learn from your side. Who here is actually owning cryptocurrencies? Oh, that's a lot. Interesting. Who here has actually visited a metaverse? Has put on a VR glass? Nice. And who is using AI on a daily basis? All right. Yeah. Okay. Could expect that, of course. Now, during the breaks, I think you already saw the really cool tech demos. There's some really cool tech demos. One of them I just spoke. It's the 360 factory, and here you can scan a physical object, and by scanning that, you literally directly get a 3D representation. And the guy just told me if you can sit still for 50 minutes, he can make a 3D representation of you. So if you want to have like a 3D scan of yourself, I don't know, as a nice virtual avatar in the metaverse or so, just be there 15 minutes sitting still, and you can take it home with you as a nice souvenir. For those of you who just joined in the break, we will have some very cool, insightful talks and roundtables here again at this main stage. But we would also love to get some questions and remarks from your side. For this, we use Mentimeter. And please do scan the QR code. And if you scan the QR codes, you can leave all your questions, your remarks, and they'll end up at my iPad. And if time is permitting me, then I will ask them to the speakers. Again, if time is permitting me, we got so many great questions from your side. So if I'm not able to ask your question, all the speakers will join for lunch, and they're very happy to continue the conversation. All right, on with the show. In a time where technological advancements are growing at an unprecedented rate, enterprises must adapt and innovate swiftly to stay competitive. Our next speaker is a visionary leader in the tech-driven innovation, and he will explore how organizations can harness cutting-edge technologies and foster a culture of continuous improvement and strategically navigate the complexities of this exponential area. He is founder and CEO of Metacampus, one of the organizers of this event. And Metacampus is a professional development hub located in the beautiful city of Barcelona, and is there and is designed to help companies, creators, and business professionals constantly improve their digital skills. And it's also a venture from the Eindhoven-based impact fund Lumo Labs, which is situated across this building. Can I have a warm welcome for Pérez?
Thank you, Jan. Hi, it's me again. Sorry about that. For those who still don't know me, I don't know where you've been for the last 2 days, but my name is Pérez. I'm the founder and CEO of Metacampus. And we're here to accelerate the adoption of emerging technologies. That's what we do as a business, but that's what we do that's, I would say, what is our purpose in life. I've been in digital innovation for the last 25 years, started working in digital agencies and ad-serving technologies from the late 90s, spending 10 years in London. Then I went back to Barcelona after 10 years and then set up a new company which was all about immersive technologies coming from 2012, 2013, when there was still no market for metaverse or extended reality, etc. But our role was to start onboarding new clients, new brands into the potential of experimenting with these immersive technologies and trying to connect all the breakthroughs that were coming from a brain sensor with a VR headset, with a movement sensor, and how we can create different types of emotional or more meaningful experiences. Then in 2019, we sold the company to MediaPro Group. There was head of innovation for a very large audiovisual group in Europe. But after the pandemic and seeing how behind we were in regards to digital skills, where we had assumed that we knew it all because our grandma was on Facebook and we had a family group on WhatsApp, so everyone felt very comfortable with the use of the smartphone, thinking that, yeah, we got this internet thing, when the reality hit us in the face with the pandemic, where we could see that corporates and professionals were really lagging behind on their knowledge, their ability, even the use of, for example, teachers using video conferences to do lessons. It was painful to see how they struggled to do that when we had Skype for the last 25 years as our everyday type of technology. So the combination of seeing now the digital skills that we were behind, and now we're saying, okay, only 54% of Europeans, active professionals in Europe, have the basic digital skills, combined with the fact that we were always struggling trying to find talent with experience, with the right knowledge and the skills, and that actually it wasn't just us, and that's the data that over 75% of employers, they are struggling to get the right people or people to push their business forward, which is one of the impending issues on this age of technology acceleration. And finally, this technology acceleration that we have seen even from the World Economic Forum since 2015, 2016, where there were already signs about this constantly or accelerating move in more exponential speed than what we've seen before. So given where we are today, the gap is actually widening rather than reducing the digital skills gap. And that's why we decided to set up Metacampus. And Metacampus, trying to reduce this gap, we've been working with hundreds of professionals in the last 2.5 years in terms of trying to upskill them. We've been working with over 20 brands and enterprises, trying to help them also adopt these new technologies more at the scale and in groups and collectives rather than an individual level as well. And after all this work and 2.5 years of focusing on this, we could summarize, in essence, there are two types of professionals in this exponential age. There are the professionals who are actively working to become obsolete, and you may think that may be negative, and then the others are the inactive professionals who are becoming obsolete by the minute. And this, what it may be, a statement that may be done for the presentation, it rings so true, because those professionals who are not proactively looking at how to make themselves obsolete, and by making themselves obsolete, what are we saying here? We're saying people who are looking to how can I automate part of my daily job? How can I use technology to do this that I do every day, that it is a pain to do, that it is a repetitive task? How can I automate that part? How can I make this faster? How can I make sure that I get information from my colleagues in the right format, on demand, etc.? So it's all about changing mindset. And you need professionals with the right mindset. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to accelerate your company progress in the same way that technology it is accelerating. Because if you have to drag all these 100 employees who are not proactively looking at how to explore with the new technologies to make themselves obsolete, then this you do not have enough pulling power to keep up with the rate of progress. And that will kill your company. And that is one of the key lessons that we're learning. And that's, okay, how do we work to change that? How can we help companies, or how can we help ourselves to change that? And there are some, I think, misinformation. There is a lot of fear and there is a lot of hype about, okay, AI will displace hundreds of millions of jobs. And yes, it will. But sometimes we're asking the wrong questions, because we're asking here, for example, we're asking, which agency jobs will AI automation have a biggest impact on? And then I asked ChatGPT to do a list based on percentage, but also to detail, for the purpose of this presentation, to detail the main tasks that would be automated. And that applies on the creative services side of the industry, as it applies to the enterprise sector, on the banking sector. But what we should focus really is, okay, detailing when you have an enterprise structure, every single role, and detailing which are the tasks that are required for to implement this role. And then let's look at which tasks we can automate today, which tasks we can, we think we'll be able to semi-automate tomorrow, and start working on that constant automation of our daily work. That's what really matters. Not the role. The role will not become obsolete. The role will still be there, but the amount of work that is done on a manual basis related to that work, that is what is going to be disrupted massively. And for that, it's not about changing a new or implementing a new software package in the company and everyone going through a training course because now we're going to use Salesforce, or we're going to upgrade to the new version of Microsoft Office, and then people do like a one-off every 6 months or every 12 months. It does require a constant level of training or learning, and then exploring and constantly trying and seeing how feasible it is today versus how can I prepare for the changes of the next 6 months. And that is a constant, because really to implement this successfully in a company without having to spend your effort on dragging your teams towards this continuous innovation, we have to find ways of getting our staff motivated and really celebrating this level of automation and actively working in making or towards their own obsolescence, but to do that in a really positive manner. So people fear change, and when people fear change, then we have to understand the human condition, and we have to understand that when you're asking people to change, you're getting them outside their comfort zone, and then all of a sudden, they may feel that how valuable they felt until now, that will go out of the window. So we do have to manage those emotional sentiments and try to direct that into a positive manner. And for that, we have to be really transparent. We have to be really involving people into what it means, and trying to get them to see this as a positive outcome for them. And what else, what additional value, what additional things that they were not able to do, they will be able to do in the future. So how can we encourage our teams to make this? And what we have been applying with our corporate partners and clients is what we learned as the infinite game and the infinite mindset. Does anyone here know about the infinite game and the infinite mindset? Please raise your hand. Okay, that's good. It's great that not many people, so let's see if we can learn something new today. So I'm going to put an introduction video from Simon Sinek, who is our inspiration in bringing this the infinite mindset into the business life. So hopefully this plays.
In the mid-1980s, a philosopher and theologian by the name of Dr. James Carse defined these two types of games, finite games and infinite games. A finite game is defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed upon objective. Football, for example. There's always a beginning, middle, and an end, and if there's a winner, then necessarily there has to be a loser. Then there are infinite games. Infinite games are defined as known and unknown players, which means new players can join at any time. The rules are changeable, which means everyone can play however they want, and the objective is to perpetuate the game, to stay in the game as long as possible. Turns out we're players in infinite games every day of our lives. There's no such thing as being number one in your marriage. You can be number two, but you can't be number one. There's no such thing as winning global politics. Nobody wins education. You may come in first for the finite amount of time you're at school, where we have a set time frame and agreed upon objectives and metrics, but nobody wins education. And there's definitely no such thing as winning business. But if we listen to the language of so many leaders, it becomes abundantly clear that they don't know the game they're playing in. They talk about being number one, or being the best, or beating their competition. Based on what? Based upon what agreed upon metrics, timeframes, or objectives. And at the end of the day, when we play in an infinite game with a finite mindset, when we play to win in a game that has no finish line, there are some very predictable and consistent outcomes. The big ones include the decline of trust, the decline of cooperation, and the decline of innovation. And if you look at so many organizations, the rat race that they put their people in, the finite game, which is everything is about the quarterly or annual numbers, actually over the course of time destroys morale, destroys relationships, and destroys innovation. And the great organizations are the ones who understand that the goals and the metrics are waypoints. They help us understand speed and distance, but they're not the purpose of the game. The only true competitor in an infinite game is ourselves. That's what it is. How do we make our products better this year than they were last year? How do we make the quality of our customer service better this year than it was last year? How do we make the qualities of our leadership better this year than they were last year? How do we make the culture stronger this year than it was last year? And this is the obsession of the best organizations in the world. They're obsessed with outdoing themselves. And by the way, the funny coincidence is they tend to outperform their competition simultaneously. But it's an obsession with improving themselves rather than trying to beat their competition.
Could you agree with this? That
If that was true, then not everyone would be running, every big corporation would run behind generative AI just after ChatGPT.
well, at the end of the day, is what we're saying is how do you generate a culture of constant improvement, which is the only way to succeed in an era of constant change. Because if you not have the right mindset across the company, of course, remember what it says, trust. Remember what it says, motivation, and the fact that especially, we were just saying before the video, people fear change. There's plenty of headlines, and there is plenty of now figures out there of big technology companies laying off a lot of people because of AI automation, the same in the video game industry, and that's going to be coming across many other sectors. So how do you make sure that now, before it is too late, before you are forced to speed up your change, and by then you have to completely displace 50% of your workforce, now we still have time to see how can we change that in a way that what else can I get out of my team? Because at the end of the day, one of the things that we're going to learn today is that if we just focus on automation, we're actually reducing our business growth, because we're now automating tasks that we used to charge 100K to do. The more we automate, and of course, our competitors, they will come with similarly automated deliveries. We're not going to be able to charge 100K. That was we'll be able to charge 25K, because we've saved a lot of money through automation, but the client is not expected to pay that increased margins. The new market price will keep going down, So if we only focus on automation, then we're not growing our business. Now we have human capital in the business, and we have the tools. So if we get people proactively using the tools and then liberating some of their time and using the talent capacity to generate new revenue streams, to generate new business models, new services, that's how companies can actually grow in the future.
Yeah, I think there are two factors that I would like to mention. One is the surplusness, like only that big companies can afford a dedicated space for R&D and trying when building culture and everything, because small companies are literally in red race to survive. Second is, although on the one side I love Simon Sinek, I'm a big fan, but on the one end we are talking about building a culture and building trust, making more better services, better support than last year. At the same time, these are the first runners or first pioneers in laying off those people talking about culture so much, right? So like, isn't that, it's very controversial, right?
It is controversial, and that's why we're asking for an honest approach. If when you're asking people to be more proactive about using tools to become more efficient, they have to see that there is transparency. They have to see that there is a reward system for that. That we're not asking them is like when you have to make a team redundant, and then you ask the team leader to make everyone else redundant, knowing that then once he or she has made that, then he or she will also lose that job. So that's what we have to get rid of on employees' mindset. Because if employees feel that, if your teams feel that they're proactively making improvements on the daily output, just as a way of losing the job quicker, they're not going to do that. They're going to become more inactive employees. And that's going to have a much bigger effect into your organization, because there is no question about an accountant using Copilot in the way that it produces the monthly accounts. There's no question that this is going to happen. So if you are in that role, you either do it or you don't do it, and you will be replaced by someone who does it. So how do we unblock this? And that's when we say, okay, so this infinite game of automation, because today we cannot automate everything. We're at the very beginning. But we need to explore, we need to test, we need to get the house in order. That's one of the main things that we were seeing yesterday with one of the keynotes. What is delaying the uptake of AI technology is the fact that we've not complied with the digital transformation that we've been talking about for the last 20 years. We do not have the house in order. We do not have the structure of the files and the data in a way that can be easily understood and provide value now by the agents and assistants. So this process takes time. We need to get started with that while we're exploring with the tools, and then automation will come. And you need to have to get that motivation. You do need to have those reward programs, those thinking of your team. Trying to do that transition is almost like counseling. One of our clients, ACT, which is Accelerate Career Transition, they work with professional athletes. And then they've been helping professional athletes to transition their career towards the corporate world at the end of their sports career. Because what happens is that at the end of your sports career, then you have problems about self-esteem, because all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter that you're a top athlete. You start in the corporate world, and you start behind others. So that sort of mental support, that almost therapeutical support, this is what we're going to face across the workplace. Because a lot of people who had built a lot of value through their know-how, etc., now it's really an issue if they're not able to use the technology tools at their disposal. We've seen a lot of corporates that it's okay if they don't know how to use PowerPoint. It's okay if they need their assistant to set up the video call because they add a lot more value in many other places. Now, in the era that we're moving, this is no longer okay. So we do need to make those transitions, because otherwise people will lose their self-esteem, their self-value, and that will really affect them. Yeah. So that is why preparing your business for constant change, we do need to adopt this infinite mindset, because it's not one software upgrade, it is a constant. And as Simon was saying, winning at the infinite game in business is staying in the game for as long as possible. You as a professional, winning means actually constantly upgrading myself, so I remain valuable to the company, and the company as a whole, that the value proposition is constantly adapted to the constant changes. There is this movement in US, which is called the AI Solopreneur. And then the AI Solopreneur, it is a movement where there is a new ecosystem of startups that are generated by one single person. Everything else is tools. And that's, we could see new solutions generated just by a creator and using the tools at his or her disposal. And that's the sort of thing, the big agencies, the big corporates, all of that, they have a much harder job, because competing in an environment where the barriers of entry are really reducing and becoming more eliminated, and businesses becoming more agile, you're going to big agencies are going to be competing with boutique agencies. They're already set up for that constant change. So how do you make an adaptation, dragging those hundreds and hundreds of employees, trying to reskill them, trying to get them motivated? That is a much bigger task than just killing it and setting up a new company way leaner than before. So we want to avoid that. We want to help in this transition, because at the end of the day, working hours, they are a means to an end. The value is not really the time that we put into it, is the quality of the output that we get. It just happens that with today's tool, to generate that valuable output, you may have to spend X amount of hours with an X amount of human resources. But the same with automation. Automation, it is a means to an end. Just gaining efficiencies will only make your businesses smaller. So you need to make up for that with new revenue streams, with new business models, and you have the capital, human capital, at home. The sooner you make them available to start working on those new business opportunities, new related services, the bigger chances you have as an enterprise to actually become successful and continue growing in this era of constant. So that's what we proposing. That's our approach based on what we've learned, because otherwise we have seen, we work with entities that they are becoming inactive, and after initial, I would say, level of excitement, trying to implement a program of innovation, of adoption of innovation, then the managers, of course, they're really busy. Oh, I can only dedicate 1 or 2 hours per week to this. Oh, sorry, I have to cancel now because I've got another project. We're seeing this constantly. So there is a level of sense of believing in the change, and another level which is way, way harder, which is implementing that change across the organization. And we're not aware through the PowerPoint presentations, through the data, the amount of work that it takes to filter all those kind of mindset changes throughout the organization, across all the hierarchies, across all the procedures, the workflows, etc. It is big. It is a big, big task ahead. And unless you have your team behind, it becomes a much bigger task, almost impossible.
So AI or artificial...
So what we're doing, finding your shared purpose. And I think that is when we were saying about we have to be true to, with our teams. We have to find a shared purpose, something that, we are going into this future together. We do need to redefine our company value proposition for 2030. It doesn't really matter what is our value proposition today. We cannot hang on to something that may become obsolete in itself, that it is not adapted to the times. Let's start working today on what would be our value proposition in 5 years' time. Let's start imagining what are the scenarios, how consumer habits will change. We're seeing how the B2C, the gaming, entertainment sectors, and many other aspects of our lives, the new generations are changing their habits, and they're changing it in a much faster capacity. And they will be expecting to engage with technology in ways that we're not even thinking of. So then developing that transition roadmap that can accelerate progress exponentially. So how do we save the first hour? And that's one of the things that we have this, imagining on the exponential growth, the linear steps versus the exponential steps. It's 30 linear steps gets you to 30 exponential steps gets you to 1 billion. So how do we implement that in terms of accelerating the adoption of innovation? So how do we get, okay, let's invest 30 minutes a day until then we get to save those 30 minutes a day, and then let's use those 30 minutes a day to then save the next hour. And then let's use, now that we've liberated a lot of human capital, and we've also invested in a lot of exploration, to then see how that me having an extra hour and a half a day versus someone in another department, then working together, then we can multiply that kind of value proposition across the company. So it's working in the exponential mindset and thinking with an exponential mindset. It is the only way to ensure sure that the digital divide or the, the digital skills gap and how that becomes an output in your company is not getting bigger and bigger, but we're getting closer because progress, it is going at that rate. Yeah, and we have to empower and reward our teams for embracing change. And they have to see that. And they have to see that that is an honest approach that is going to be worthwhile for me. Because actually, if you're able to do that, you will want to keep those teams in your company because they will become hugely valuable. People who are constantly exploring, who are constantly experimenting, testing, thinking, oh, I could actually, I've seen this, I thought that if we implement this in whatever part of our workflow, we have a benefit. This has so much value in the enterprise of the future that we have to make sure that we retain that. And we're in a position that we're seeing 77% of the companies that are struggling to acquire the right talent. We have the right talent, that's why we have it in the company now. Let's make sure we help them in this transition, and then they will help us in the benefit. And then with that, it's not just about giving money back to our employees. It is about exploring more decentralized and community-driven decision-making and how they can work almost as communities rather as employees. How can we liberate them from the more tedious and repetitive tasks, which are the prime ones for automation, into something that is they can focus more on social impact, or they can focus more on other areas that will bring long-term value to their personal lives as well as to the company. And what we, as part of our partnership with Reality and the Campus, we're going to start from next month. We're going to start doing like a monthly online workshops for anyone who has been part of the GM Eindhoven and also the tenants of the high-tech campus. We will share the details, and the idea is that with these monthly sessions, we're going to start helping professionals in their respective companies to try to implement these sequential yet exponential improvements, across their daily routine or in the company, regardless of the company, regardless of the role. I think we all can benefit from taking all these steps towards progressive innovation. And I think that was it. Thank you very much. I don't know if you believe what I'm saying, but we have to do something about it. Thank you. Any questions?
We certainly have some.
Any additional questions? I mean,
Now, what I will do, because we also have the conversation now on stage, and I don't see the chairs standing here, so is it okay if I give you the questions that I'm getting the chairs already?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, because you're not getting rid of me yet. I'm going to stay on the stage with the next session, which is also very interesting. So, how do I get started with AI? Do you use any specific framework, methodology for B2B? I think the framework and the methodology is that infinite game of innovation that we've been discussing. How you get started, as I was saying earlier, okay, make a list of everything that you do on a daily basis. Do a tracker of, okay, what did I do today? And you'll see that you spend X amount of hours or minutes doing the replying emails. You may spend X amount of minutes doing meetings, then writing the meeting notes or doing some reports for your line manager. All these things. So what I would say is start detailing what you do on a daily basis, and then go and find tools to implement that. And you'll find that most of the tools integrated into your, at the end of, I think 50% of people that work with Microsoft Office suite. The other 50% of the professionals, they work with Google suite. There are the main standard tools from both of them. So depending on your package, start exploring those and see how you can apply those into your daily task. And then, do not think of, okay, I implement this, tomorrow is automated. No, you have to implement it, you have to monitor it, you have to supervise it until it comes to a point where you're comfortable that that assistance is actually adding value to you. And then the second question is, how do you engage employees from a change management perspective? How do we engage employees is empowering employees. We do need this top-bottom in terms of the belief and the support. The drive has to come from the top. So it is something that it has no barriers at the line management. Line management can become one of the biggest barriers when they should become the accelerators. But no, they are one of the biggest barriers in empowering the next level of people. And then you'd be surprised that those people that they're actually almost like hidden within those teams, they're the ones that they're willing to provide more. They're willing to explore. They're willing to be proactive because that helps them grow. So I think, you know, leading from the top, but making sure we reward from the very bottom. That's how we engage employees. And then the ones that we force are the middle management. We make that their mission. So that would be my personal recommendation based on our work. And now, I don't want to continue talking here on my own. We have the next panel. We have the chairs. We have the guests, I guess. So I'm going to invite Kai Philippe from Union Avatars. Here we have Kai, and then we have Daniel Sanchez as well, a Web3 artist. And we're going to talk about embracing social change from consumers to virtual personas. We have two very special people. Kai from Barcelona has an avatar and virtual or digital identity company that has been working now for several years, and it's really groundbreaking solutions, but making it really simple in terms of bringing people into the virtual platforms. They almost have almost 100,000 users with a total of 800,000 avatars built so far. And then we have Daniel Sanchez, and Daniel Sanchez has three purposes. One is the most wonderful person, but is our artist of the official GM Eindhoven poster. So congratulations, fantastic work on designing that poster. Thank you very much. And he's also a very active member of the 6529 ecosystem, which is a decentralized Web3 communities, working on social credibility, social status on chain, and how we can bring, and that's part of the conversation today, so how we can bring the virtual personas and how the collective communities can actually trust profiles where you don't know the person behind. How do we bring that social credibility and social status into a decentralized community? So welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. A pleasure.
So Kai, first of all, tell us a little bit about Union Avatars and your journey so far.
Yeah, just to give a brief introduction, what we do. Basically, what we have is an avatar system to generate 3D avatars coming from 2D selfie pictures. We do a process of 3D reconstruction using some machine learning and computer vision, so we are able to take this picture in 2D and then create either a 3D realistic avatar or a more cartoonish, let's say, more gaming oriented. And we serve it basically to developers who are creating 3D virtual worlds or video games. But our goal or our vision behind it is that you should be able to have one unique identity that then it can be projected in different ways based on the platform that you are accessing or the usage that you want to give it. Just like in real life, you don't dress the same based on the place you go. We understand that in virtual worlds, you should be able to also represent yourself in a different way. Like what we were talking before, maybe you prefer to interact with a bank and have a realistic avatar with certain data added to it, let's say your real name, your ID card, and maybe your account number. But then if I'm playing a video game, I prefer to have a nickname, a cartoonish avatar, and the level of, I don't know, attack and defense that I have on my character. So that's a little bit the vision behind it. So we say that it's an avatar company, but at the end of the day, we are building an ecosystem for identity management on 3D virtual spaces.
Excellent, thank you. Daniel, first of all, as a digital artist, how do you think virtual personas will impact that sense of identity and self-expression in the digital world?
The way I've seen it impact me, which is how I prefer to express, is everyone, whether we want to admit it or not, we all have something hidden. We all have something that sometimes we're afraid to show, or afraid to say, or afraid to demonstrate, good or bad. Virtual personas actually enable us to do that, right? Sometimes we might call it hiding. In my case, and I've seen in case of many other people, it's actually been a mechanism to express, a mechanism to be able to participate, a mechanism to play a bit the infinite game, as you were talking.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. And but you are also an artist, and but you're also a member of a very active decentralized community. When we talk about decentralized communities, could you give an overview of what does that mean versus a traditional community building based on a particular brand or?
So the way I see it, and I like to use metaphors a lot. I use it in my images. I use it in a lot of what I write. Right. So traditional communities is like walking on the street. You're walking on the street. You see everyone pass by, and you're shouting and trying to get heard. Some people might hear you, some people might not hear you. If you look nice, people will walk, people will talk, people will engage. Decentralized is like choosing where you step into. You like the bar, you like how it looks, you like the color, you like what they're serving. You get in, and you meet people who most of the times have a common alignment, right? And everyone has taken the decision to go in, right? So everyone has taken their own choice and has not necessarily been pulled into.
That's a very interesting point, because finding people with shared alignment, with shared views on particular areas of life, is what really makes these Web3 communities way more meaningful from a perspective, because you do have access that you didn't have before. But there is also a lot of bad apples around the space, and Kai had us the the privacy and the digital, in digital identity can have an influence on a positive influence on the ability of actually bringing the best of yourself, because there's a lot of introvert people. There's a lot of people that they're limited sometimes by their own either physique or social environment, and that's a way of liberating, unleashing their talent. But there's also a way of other more, I would say, the bad apples trying to use that privacy as a level of abusing other more vulnerable victims. How do you tackle this privacy issue?
I mean, for me, I totally agree in what you and Daniel said about I think this communities allows you to present maybe more open, to present yourself a little bit more open and try to find connections with people that maybe is not physically around you, but in a distant space. But then you can connect with them because you share the same interest. When it comes to privacy, to be honest, I'm always a hardcore privacy defender. So I think privacy is super important. When you say about this, let's say, abusing of the privacy and everything, I always say that for me, that's not a technological problem. I think it's more about the society and the morals and everything. I don't think the fact that you have privacy allows you to, let's say, do bullying to other people or this kind of offenses. I think it's more related to the society than the privacy or the anonymity that you can have. I think it's interesting to keep certain level of privacy and being able to own your data and display or disclose only what you want to do. And again, that's where I think identity management have a big role, no? In the sense, just to compare it to what we use in blockchain with private and public keys, I think everybody should be able to have one private identity that is filled with all our personal data, but we are the owners of it. And then you should be able to create different profiles, selecting specific data that you want to share in each one of these profiles. So maybe in one profile you have a fully public profile with a lot of data related to you that you display to people, but then in other communities you are using just some part of this data to create a more private identity. No? So I
Yeah, no, fully understand, and it is a complicated issue. And in fact, Daniel, could you explain how the power of the community is it can become a tool for providing trust on chain of while maintaining the privacy of the users?
Yes. So I'll give an example. I think that's the best way to go, right? And so if you look at my profile on the site, it calls out me Maxi. If you look at me at LinkedIn, it calls out as me Maxi. It's not a job. Yes, I think that's the first thing to know.
Not a joke,
right?
definitely not a joke.
I don't create memes, but I collect a lot of them. Now, why do I collect the memes? They're part of this ecosystem, as Pere was saying before, of what 6529 has been creating with one clear mission, and it's the mission of onboarding 100 million people into the open metaverse. So part of what we talked in the morning, part of what we talked just before. Why do I hold the memes? Why do I buy them? These are NFTs. So why do I invest? Why do I hold them? I hold them because for each day that I hold a meme, there's a mechanism that actually accounts for it. This mechanism empowers the people within the community, we're around 10,000 now, to actually provide a service to the community. What do I mean by service? Today, there are two mechanisms behind it. One is, we call it CIC. So that's the part of identification. It's not necessarily identifying that I am Daniel Sanchez and I live here and do this for a job, but I'm able to distribute that to prove that the person is who they say they are according to what they've decided to expose. So a bit like a private entity. From a social point of view, like you were mentioning before, there are good and there are bad apples. Right? So there's another element, there's another mechanism that comes into this that allows the community, so the distributed community, to also award people with what we call reputation, right? And this can be a community builder, it can be a meme artist, it can be simply a good person. But it also allows to penalize those who might be trying to game the system. And so, like any community or like any movement, everything started with a community or a set of people, right? And that's what we're trying to curate as we go through time. It's a series of experiments, but the fact that you're able to have this mechanism to distribute or withdraw allows us also to curate in the sense of the mission, curate to allow the positivity and the growth of the system to actually continue.
And this, while it may sound slightly complicated, it is an essential factor for Web3 and blockchain-based privacy to be successful, because we've already seen it in Web2. We've seen it with brands then sponsoring or associating their brand to a particular influencer on Instagram or any other social media platform. Then, when that person has done, got fined for being for drink and driving, for example, then a lot of their sponsorship they had to be cancelled, etc. But as we have more and more VTubers or virtual influencers or this virtual persona, how can brands effectively engage, or bring these virtual personas into their marketing in a successful way? And if you could provide some examples, Kai, on how you've been transitioning or using these avatars as part of the brand engagement with the communities.
Well, I think more and more we see all this, especially with AI, I would say, all these AI models or AI characters that can be driven by a company behind it. We have seen, for example, now in Spain, we have one TV presenter that is fully generated by AI and is telling the news. There is also some virtual influencers like Lil Miquela or other pretty known influencers who work with different brands. I think that's good for brands because they can manage a little bit more their message without the risks, as you were saying, of a regular human being, let's say. And then at the end of the day, you also can give let's say, sort of a human display to the interactions that the users have with your company or with your platform, using avatars or virtual personas in a way of a chatbot or something like this. But I think for now we have been seeing more in the marketing part of it on creating these brands. But I think it's interesting, and there are, especially in our specific field, or use cases related to my company, we have seen a lot of traction when it comes to fashion, to the fashion industry, because they are able to create one specific model that they can use over the time. They can build a narrative or a character behind it, and then at the same time they are able to be honest, to save a lot of costs when it comes to photo shoots, paying rights to different models to use on either on the website or presenting the different models. Because they can do everything digitally with the use of AI, adding it to the avatars or to the characters.
Okay, so we're seeing on one side, how we can help in terms of the marketing and brand positioning towards these more kind of gamified social goals. But there is also these collectives working on making a social impact or positive social impact in a digital ecosystem. What's in your community, Daniel? What are the drivers? What are we fighting for? Because we're saying, okay, we have the digital persona, the digital identity, all of that. That to me is almost like transitioning towards digital rights of protecting our digital personas. How is that? How is that covered as part of the community goals?
I think there are two elements to it, right? One of them is, and it's a common theme across the elements, one of them is purely what we talk about freedom, whether it is the freedom to transact element of working in a decentralized or working with a decentralized ecosystem, which doesn't depend or doesn't have any authority. But I think the other element is about the freedom to be, the freedom to express, right? The freedom to onboard, right? To bring in the old, the young, into what we believe is actually going to be the future as we've seen it moving.
And this is paramount importance, because the freedom to be, the freedom to become whoever you want to be, see how hard it has been to make this transition for LGBT, for race equality, and so on. And now we do have the tools at our disposal to try to make this almost irrelevant, to take it beyond that. It's not just about the religious belief or the sexual orientation. It is anything that you want, as far as it's respectful with the others, to have that freedom, and unleashing that, I think, is what we're, why we're pushing the sector forward. So. Final question from the audience as well, as we know that we are quite late. But one thing, I understand the logic behind exposing different aspects of you in different settings, but also think that it's not to allow people to hide behind fake identities, like trolls. How can we accommodate both? What would be your share of this?
Well, this is a personal point of view, but I think there will be always trolls, let's say, either if there are tools to cover it or not. I see a problem in faking the identity of another person, because it can drive to scams or whatever, or impersonating a person. I think that's the biggest issue. Then we should have some authentication ways to demonstrate that you are really who you are supposed to be, and to, in a way, do this security check. But at the same time, I think we have to be confident that anonymity and privacy is something important in this world. It depends on the country where you live. It depends on a lot of things too. But I think this privacy sometimes allows you to maybe speak things that if you do it publicly, it can be dangerous, let's say. So I think we need to find a balance between both. I don't have the perfect solution for that.
You're absolutely right, and we do need to find a balance. And relating to another question, that if we provide the tools to validate the social credibility of our private users, that may be one of the tools that on the issues that we'll face in terms of employment regulation on the EU, etc. how do we enable people to remain private on a professional environment? One of the things that we've seen, for example, some of the most expert smart contract people that they look into audit, they audit the smart contract for security. They're all undoxed. No? They're all, let's say, we don't know who they are behind, and that's part of their self-defense. But if you are a company doing a smart contract, you better get it audited by one of these profiles. How do we bring that into the more regulatory part?
I think from a regulatory point of view, I'm more of the opinion that the regulation should actually be curated by the communities, right? So the power of blockchain, the power of having closed communities, whether they're driven by NFTs or by a specific token, actually empowers the communities to keep hidden what they want to keep hidden or exposed, for good or for bad. Companies should, and I believe will not, be able to overcome those barriers themselves. And as long as we have that freedom to individually have the ability to keep that behind that specific blockchain or community, and deciding what we want to share, right? I think regulatory is really a minimal element from it.
Absolutely. We have no more time today to continue talking, but there are two follow-ups from here. One, Kai, he has a demo where you can actually create your avatar, within 30 seconds, and then use it for a number of purposes. So do go and try this. And please do follow Daniel. There is very deep thoughts in the whole community. Look at the then at the 6529 decentralized community that we're all part of. The views on the open metaverse. There are some of the most interesting tweeted threads about talking about how the freedom to transact becomes the most important constitutional freedom we can have, that everything else is depending on this. So I do make a call to everyone that, okay, we're not just talking business, we are talking about our future. Protecting our digital rights will become as important as protecting our human rights. So we're here because we believe we have small chance to still make a difference for our digital society, and we need to think beyond enterprise. We need to think about our next generation, our kids. How can we create a better future for them? Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and please continue the conversations in the break, because now we have an amazing co-presentation that I'm so looking forward to seeing. That I can't wait. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pere. You have been an amazing co-host. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who here has heard of Darketing? So, combination of marketing. Oh, yeah, of course. Next speakers, one person over there. Now, we've been discussing technology, the adoption of technology, the impact of technology. And our next speakers, and it's a duo presentation, will bring a wealth of experience and a refreshing perspective to the table, challenging conventional norms and advocating for innovative approaches to really drive sustainable growth. Their combined expertise promises to shed light on the pitfalls of outdated marketing practices, often referred as darketing, and provide a compelling case for reimagining growth in today's dynamic landscape. Now, in an era where traditional marketing strategies are increasingly scrutinized and often fall short of expectations, the need for a paradigm shift has never been more evident. And therefore, I'm really delighted to introduce Xenia Stark and Stuart Rogers. Please welcome them on stage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're officially rebranding the event. It's now GA Eindhoven because we're after 12 p.m. So good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Very good.
Well, no. How can we get you to spectacular?
I know.
Right?
How can we get you to spectacular? If you're only good, that's not good enough. We need to get you to spectacular. We're going to attempt to do that over the next few minutes. We're going to talk about ditching darketing, reimagining growth, but we're going to tell you a little personal story first that led us to this path.
Yeah. And I'm Ksenia Stark.
I am Stuart Rogers, and together we are in X Factor style.
Yes, confusion
and
joy. And today we are going to talk about how we can rip it up and start again and explore darketing and reimagine our growth. And indeed, we are going to start with our personal story because it's our dear story as how we connected based on values. And you know, we chose to do things differently, and now we want to tell you how you can do things differently. And community connected us. We met 1 year ago, only 1 year ago, in Tallinn, on NFT Tallinn, currently BananaConf. And this is beautiful community in Tallinn as well, where we actually reconnected at BTC Pizza Day.
Yeah, BTC Pizza Day. Who's heard of BTC Pizza Day? Absolutely. It was when somebody spent 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza, but that was back when it was not worth you know what, $70,000 a piece. We reconnected then again because we both care about diversity, equity, inclusion, supporting you know, marginalized communities, people that need help. So we reconnected in the metaverse, working on bringing LGBTQ and pride to the metaverse, and that's where we became friends and connected on values.
Yep, and then we went to Finland, and that's where we met even more amazing people, fell in love, and you know, this is a story when connecting based on value led to love, but sometimes it leads to very long-lasting friendships and long-lasting relationships. And let's go back a little bit in time and remember how internet was created and why it was created. It actually was meant to bring us together as a global society to connect and share knowledge and expertise.
But what we've done is, instead of just using it to improve humanity, we've turned it into the world's fastest supermarket. Anyone who recognizes Aldi in Germany, Kassafraus, throwing tins of beans at your chest so hard they break your ribs, that's what we've turned the internet into. And we are doing transactions as fast as possible, as cheap as possible, as often as possible. We're basically turned everything into download our app, get the link in bio, click here to register. And we're trying every single trick in the book to get you to buy and buy and buy more and more.
Yeah, it's like this call to actions that brands, you know, and actually marketeers, they love to use the colors, you know, the wording and the call to action rules exist. And that's what we call darketing. That's the term that we came up with, and this is all about the manipulative strategies that are pushing you to buy, subscribe, download, and they're aimed at overselling the products. And my experience is coming from digital industries, so I've been working in telecom, gambling, adult. So I've been seeing, you know, a lot of developments and actually getting into the history of programmatic advertising. So we learned over the years with, you know, neuroscience and neuromarketing, as they call it, what colors to put, what, you know, words to use that you are actually going to through the funnel. And I hate that word as well, actually.
Yeah. And you know, we are actually complicit in this. We've allowed large corporations. You know, the internet is now completely centralized almost. It's run by 6 major corporations, and we're giving them all our data for free. You know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's almost 6 billion smartphones in use right now. 5 billion, over 5 billion internet users. Almost 5 billion social media users, and they're getting everything from us. You know, when you click that, I'd like to share my location in-app. What you're really giving them is location, down to within a meter. You're giving them all of your data in terms of whether you're sitting, standing, walking, how fast you're walking, whether you're on a bicycle, in a car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're using that to target you, and you've been complicit in this. You've allowed them all of that data for free so they can make billions off of you.
And the darketing era also enabled us to chase the shiny objects. And in general, humans like chasing shiny objects rather than grounding and kind of understanding and analyzing, you know, the use cases or anything else. And the best example of it is our favorite Silicon Valley model that actually has 99% of a fail rate in the year 1, and only 30% of the startups of this 1% get to year 3. And we keep being inspired by this model, and we keep repeating the strategies and thinking that, we are the next Mark Zuckerberg.
Exactly.
Or,
exactly. And we've got this down to a fine art. You got the example here on this awesome video, like iPhone 11, iPhone 12, iPhone 13. We will make you queue round the block of a very nice glass building because we understand how to trigger your dopamine. Like, hit me dopamine one more time. Like, literally, hit your dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. There are companies that have entire departments to understand how to hit your dopamine levels extra time, so you keep coming back for more and more to get that larger TV, to get that next laptop. And we just keep on doing it, because they know how to trigger our brains. They know how to get us to buy the next thing constantly, all the time.
And at this moment, we are at this tipping point when, we talk about Web3 and shifting from Web2 to Web3. But let's be honest here, we are not changing anything. Yep. And even if we are believing in a more transparent, connected web and new economy, at this moment, we are seeing something different.
Yeah, if Tim Cook stands up and tells you that Web3 is all about AR, what he's really telling you in the parenthesis is because he's got glasses to sell. That's why he's making it all about AR. I've written stories about him talking only about AR. If Zuckerberg is talking about the metaverse, or as we heard yesterday, VR and AR, it's because they want to make ads more immersive, and they also want to get your eye tracking data and your movement data so they can target you more effectively. Let's remember, these companies, Meta, great company, but 99% of their revenue comes from ads. So this is why they're doing this.
And the honest state of Web3, and Confusion and Joy, us together, we did the analysis on the Bitcoin ownership. And actually, around 60% of Bitcoins belong to that tiny group of people, which is basically capitalism on blockchain. Yeah. So if we talk about, the real state of our economy, and we love global citizens, our amazing, amazing friends, who also report, different figures. And, we know that the richest people, they own 1% and almost half of the world wealth.
Yeah.
So
exactly. We've taken this wonderful blockchain and this ideal of decentralization and just done capitalism again, but faster. And then we talk to, you look at all the different blockchain startups and Web3 startups in this space. And because they're all brilliant technical people, they don't know how to actually tell their solutions to customers, the people that want to buy them. You end up with things like a crypto wallet for everything on chain and unlock the new internet. It's a wallet. Real-time, granular, actionable insights using AI-based big data and machine learning platform. Yep. What the fuck does that do? Does anyone know?
Does anyone know what it's supposed to do?
It doesn't talk to the people that actually might want to use it. We have to get out of this tech bubble where we're talking tech language all the time. And I often speak about mental health in the tech industry and did research on that. And self-prescription is an addition to your mental health stress. If you're a brilliant technical person, please make yourself the CTO, not the CEO because of ego. Because CEOs have different brains, need different skills. If you do a CTO role, you'll be amazing at it. Make yourself a CEO, you might end up actually causing yourself huge stress and mental health issues. Get people to talk language of the people that should be using your product.
And that's exactly an example. If you go to any Web3 project, really few of them have any language that actually other humans understand. And that's where we end up, with a low adoption level, and again, everything is driven by tech. While growth is not about tech. Yeah. And building your company demands an ethos that changes the way we do business. And that's what we believe, that Web3 is the ethos of collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, communicating directly without middlemen with each other. And it's about community.
We call that the sea of change, instead of the sea that we've all been obsessed with, which is competition. Competition presupposes that you need to make everyone else lose so that you win. Do we all really want to live in a society where we're all trying to make each other lose every damn day? Let's try and lift each other up and make everybody win. Collaboration really is about this wave of change. It's about communities shaping ecosystems. Don't think of your competitors as competitors. Why not be the people that understand your space better than everybody else? Create an association and bring all your competitors and scientists or analysts and key users, raving fans, bring them all together and create an ecosystem. Crowd filtering is another term that we coined. If you build a community and other people join the community and they don't behave in the right way or they're not quite right, you don't have to do anything about it. Your community that understands how to behave will filter them out or correct their behavior for you. Look at Reddit. They do exactly that. People moderate their own subreddits. Organic growth is greater than taking other people's money for an idea that may probably never actually come to fruition.
Or advertising.
Yeah, or advertising. Raving fans, you get those with your community. These are people that advocate for you. They'll run up to the rooftops and they'll scream your name wildly to everybody else. And you create them with two-way conversation directly with these people and giving them value. You don't have to bribe them. You don't have to do that. Hey, you may win $200 if you invite 5 people to Revolut this week. You don't have to do that. They will just do it for you. And don't forget the most important thing. We'll talk about this later, but create impact all the way down the chain. We'll tell you why that's important soon.
And here we come to this, competition versus collaboration mindset, and to visualize it, of course, we like the pie, right? So right now, everyone is just trying to fight for like a bigger piece of a small pie. It's even like a cupcake or something. But when you enable collaboration mindset, you actually make the pie bigger, and you get a fair share of that bigger pie.
And for the mathematicians in the room, that was a pie joke. It's a very big number.
I guess we don't have any mathematicians.
I know, it's terrible. So, here's an example. And sorry for the British wordplay, but leading by example instead of leading by example. Citizen Grown. What they did was remarkable. They have this hydroponic unit. They ask you for 1 meter square of your accommodation. They give you $1,000 a month to use that 1 meter square. And what they do is they grow marijuana in there, fully controlled via the internet, and they control everything, and then they come and harvest it. They get huge amounts of real estate instead of having to buy a massive piece of land to grow weed. They support underprivileged communities by giving them $1,000 a month. Like imagine someone in Harlem getting $1,000 a month. That pays for their entire rent and the food on their table. For giving up that space. They then created an association and brought all of the cannabis interested people together so that they can continue to lobby for making it more legal in more states. And when they finish in the US, they'll go around the world. And that's me having a chat with one of the people that is involved in this. It was Reg Snodgrass who put it together. But you might recognize that man as being one of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan, and he believes in this so much because basically he came from one of those places where you're massively underprivileged community, $1,000 a month. He knows this is huge for them, so he also loves weed. So combining the two, great, instant investment.
Here you go.
And the way we think about customers, we're always looking for the glory hole. We think of this wall, and we go, okay, well, let's go for this vertical. We're going to push against this part of the wall. And hopefully, we'll break through that part of the wall. If we do, there's a bunch of customers who look exactly like this lined up on that other side of the wall. Personas, profiling, et cetera, et cetera. We don't think of it that way. If you get a community and ecosystem, people will talk about you and they'll push on the other side of the wall. And then...
Yeah, the wall breaks down. And that's the beauty of community. And that's what we also call the real circular economy. When it's not just about you and your inner circle and what's happening in the walls of your company and your product or service. It is about creating value for yourself and for others and for the whole community, or if you want to call it ecosystem, your stakeholders. So considering all of them and understanding what you're tapping in with your product or services. That enables co-creation and revenue share. So you can actually earn money out of your bubble, help others, that will also elevate everything and advocate for you.
And we also believe in making conscious choices. There's two sides of the conscious choice coin. We love the 15 commitments of conscious leadership, things like radical responsibility, standing behind the words that you say, you're standing behind your actions, being responsible for yourself, not pointing fingers at others. Also, radical honesty. If other people are not behaving right, asking them about that. Finding out about that. Don't just believe what people tell you about that person. Go find out, ask them. And then if they're behaving incorrectly, be radically honest with them and say, maybe this would be a better way to go.
Yeah.
And then there's another side to that coin.
Also staying curious, actually.
Yeah, stay curious,
curiosity is one of the commitments which, actually gets back to the childhood and, when we are super curious about everything.
Yes.
And the conscious consumerism is something that we also talk about because it is about being knowledgeable, of a brand, or of even people behind the brand, the values, the actions when you're purchasing products and services. Because we as a society, as a humanity, we actually already have a power with our wallets to support and not support certain behavior, or like when we think of, best example of course is a Pride Month, right? When it's June and everyone colors their logos in the rainbow, like we're all supporting the people. But what they say is that they're commercializing on these people as well. And you can go and you can always check if this company has a good track record of being diverse and inclusive.
And impact. We talked about impact earlier. We're going to go a little bit deeper on this. Impact is the most important thing, and authentic impact. You have to think impact first. You need to connect on a human level with everybody else. It's human to human. It's not client-supplier relationships. It's not targeting someone and manipulating money out of them. Be human with everybody. Think of this ecosystem as one impact mission. When we make an impact, like that drop of water that falls into that sheet of glass water, it creates an impact. It creates waves. It creates results. Monetize in the early stages and do that organically. Like, you don't even have to build your product with tech. Certainly don't say, I'm going to use blockchain to save the world in the next 5 years. Try figuring out, first of all, some different questions, different answers to solutions, rather than being derivative and being the 700th version of something that already exists. And then try building it without tech and seeing if people want it. Ask people if they want it. Find out what they'll pay for it and see if you can make it for less than that and make a profit from day one. But, monetize on the early stages and do it using market research. Don't even open your company if there isn't people out there who want your stuff and will pay more than you can, make it for. Don't even open the company. And establish transparent and fair business models. Transparency is key. Like we all feel it in our gut when we go to a website and there is no pricing on that website and they're hiding it and it's like, contact us for a quote. No. Like transparency. And transparency across your ecosystem, what you will pay for recommendations, referrals, how you will work with people. Be completely transparent. Have manifesto on your site that tells everybody about the way you work. And be true to that.
And we come up with these 3 pillars of authentic impact, which is about creators and co-creation, so bringing more creativity into your brand strategy, community, and creating a meaningful connection with your community based on impact, and having a conduct, your real manifesto, the way you work, and being conscientiousness.
And if you take your conduct, your values, your principles, creativity, such as working with artists, DJs, musicians, coders, metaverse architects, AR designers, and true connection, real human connection, and you put that all together, you create magical experiences, activations, campaigns, meaningful media, things that we're not getting right now. We're just talking at people and hoping that some of them will buy. This creates magic. This creates people connecting on values. And this is where things really, really happen.
And as we talk about it, we also eat our own dog food.
Yeah.
Actually, that's our friends and family, because we don't call our clients partners. We call them all friends and family, because we also have one rule, which is I'm going to share with you as well. Don't work with people you don't want to hug. No. Because actually on your human level, sometimes your body is telling you, that's a no-go. Yep. You shouldn't take this money, you shouldn't take this job, you shouldn't sign this contract.
Exactly.
So since last year, August, we formed that friends, and these are just some of them.
Yeah.
And we've been doing, experiences and also consulting, startups in major, ecosystems, and also events such as Art Basel Miami or World Economic Forum or Mobile World Congress and Web Summit, etc., etc. So, and we've been doing it with the approach of organic growth, community, people judging us by our actions at the spot where we are, and then deciding whether we want to work with them. We didn't do any much podcasts or advertising. We don't have much social media. We have just a simple landing page, and we are showing with our actions that we can do things differently. And it's our choice to think, become more conscious, and understand how you can drive your business with impact.
Yes, so that is our approach. It's working. We're advising 6 companies right now. We've done all of those events. We're doing even more in the future, and some pretty outstanding ones, because we believe that the hand of confusion and joy changes everything. So we thank you for allowing us to touch you, not in a creepy way. And that is how we ditch Darketing and move forward into a brand new world where we get to rip it up and start again instead of doing the same shit, different day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for this thought-provoking keynote. Really enjoyed. There were so many things that was like, touching my brain all the time, from Bitcoin to, I'm also scared of all the cachets, right? Putting all the products, throwing them at you.
Yes, we know that.
Yeah. Now, lately I was speaking with a lady I'm coaching on dark patterns. So she's working a lot on dark patterns. And she told me there was a recent research done by Forbes that shows that 40% of consumers already saw a unexpected but unpleasant financial consequence because of these dark patterns that they see. Big websites like Booking.com, etc. And she told me now, finally, European Commission is taking charge. They finally talk to Booking.com and these big giants like, okay, dark patterns, they're not okay anymore.
I mean, has anyone seen those adverts for Temu? With all of those amazing products? Temu is a...
I was just going to say, and now we have Temu.
Yeah. So
Here we go.
Temu would do social advertising and say, you get a free drone. And then you go to the site, and the first thing that pops up is a wheel of fortune where you can get some money off. And then you get your free drone. If you buy 5 products at 70% off, you just got on the wheel of fortune. So before you know it, you got a free drone, but you spent $200 on crap. It's ridiculous.
120 million new users in 2 months.
Of course, and because that's again Darketing, and looking into all these strongly regulated industries and regulators always coming later and later, like if we talk about telecom and these times of send a number 3322 and with the word yes, this stuff on the TV, since then nothing changed in telecom actually. They're still doing the same patterns, and for us, why we talk about these topics on the conference is because we believe that if we as people start being more educated on technology, and I think Pere was also mentioning that, knowing and understanding your values and being a good human, what does it mean to be a good human, then we don't need to regulate ourselves, because we would self-regulate. And that's what we need to push more of, self-regulation, not doing business for business, stop capitalizing on people, being honest with people. This is the way of this shift of the mindsets, because otherwise we'll have the next team and the next team, and it's never going to stop.
So I totally agree with you. We need to work more on self-regulation, but in the end, it's about the big bucks, right? I mean, look, for example, at the cryptocurrency industry. We have Coinbase, we have Binance, 2 big cryptocurrency exchanges. Coinbase mentioned from the beginning, let's work with the regulators and make it right. But then Binance said hey, the San Francisco rule of saying hey, move fast, break things. They became by far the largest exchange platform. They gained 100 times more money than Coinbase. And now they're being scrutinized, but still they have so much money to pay for the lobbyists, to pay for the lawyers.
The real story of Coinbase is they got, I think it was 175 million in funding. They turned over. They were turning over after the first year something like 3 billion, and they had 1 support person because they didn't actually spend any money on supporting the customers. They spent all of that money probably on ping pong tables and themed meeting rooms, but all that money went into themselves. As a result, when I had a problem with money that was stuck in there because they didn't do the regulations right, and they had to wait for 6 months to get the UK regulations. So I couldn't get my money out for 6 months. And every time I sent a support message, when you get we will reply to you in 24 hours? They sent a reply saying, we will reply to you in about 3 to 4 weeks. And it took me 4 months of the 6 months to actually get them to give me my money.
We have the same case now in the Netherlands with a Dutch bank that is really telling everybody hey, we're working with AI and a lot of technologies, but people, they lose 100K because of some frauds, and the only point of contact is a chatbot. So
awesome.
The more of us that speak out about companies that are doing bad practices, like taking a huge amount of money but no support, or doing dark patterns on the internet. More of us who speak out about it, the more of us will then vote with our wallets, and then those companies won't have that massive growth and those big bucks. We'll give our money to the people that actually care and deal with us like human beings and support us properly and have great value and have great products and services.
Why don't we move a little bit on the stage?
Yeah.
And we're going to shift to the questions from the audience. There's some very great questions coming in from the audience.
Awesome. Let's do that.
Now, the first one is the marketing field was originally developed by psychologists. So all marketing could be convened as Darketing, even before internet plus advanced data analytics.
Absolutely.
Do ecosystems incentives avoid manipulation?
So also psychology was invented before marketing. And in psychology, we understand that people who like us tend to be like us.
Yep.
And that we work with people and have shared values with people, and we then can stay connected to those people. Marketing has taken a few pieces of what we understand as the human condition and then manipulatively leveraged them in order to get a result. We can get better results by just returning back to being human. So, let's go back behind marketing and let's go back to just good old-fashioned getting to know each other as human beings. That's just pure psychology.
And then moving away from word marketing and thinking more as a go-to-market strategy, because that's what marketing is about. You need to be on a certain market to be exposed to certain people. So when you think of your go-to-market, and right now everyone is splitting marketing to all this fuzz and stuff and numbers and, cost per action, cost per install, I got this numbers. So everything is actually, although the measurement is kind of wrong, But when you think of go-to-market and your KPIs when you're entering a certain market, that can also change a little bit the way that you approach marketing.
Yeah.
Now, to close down this in a positive way, I mean, we've been talking about Darketing, about dark patterns. Do you also have some very nice, real examples of companies that are doing it actually correctly?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the first one, my lovely inspiration, and now Finland is our lovely country.
Yes, we love Finland.
We love Finland. I mean, really beyond belief. So if you've never been there, go there in summer for Midsummer Day.
We're not being paid by the Finnish Tourist Board.
And no, we're not getting paid for it. But there is a brand, for example, Marimekko, which is a fashion brand coming from Finland. It exists for like more than 100 years. They have amazing patented patterns. They collaborate a lot with artists, so they're actually for artists. They are for Helsinki and for the whole, like Finland. They make impact. They always support Pride, but purely like with good intentions. They also have their Marimekko Day even as a holiday, and they celebrate it in Finland and Japan, and like building bridges and cultural bridges and being real good example of sustainable, diverse and inclusive company.
And if you look at Finland, this is not a small boutique place. I've been on a tour of their massive factory. I can show you pictures of hundreds of rolls of patterns. You will find them in Stockmann, in their own stores, all over the place. They are huge, and they have done that through authentic impact and caring about people, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and being part of the community. They're amazing.
Many thanks again for this very relevant, inspiring talk. Xenia and Stuart, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Already our last speaker for today, and he is a specialist in immersive experiences and general director at Concrete Culture. He has over 20 years of experience driving innovation in the world's leading museums and iconic brands, making significant contributions as a promoter and producer in live entertainment and touring exhibitions. Now, currently, he is making experimental and immersive initiatives accessible to new and diverse audiences all around the globe. And he's also initiator here in Eindhoven of the so-called Cool House, the permanent home for the new media art, immersive technology and complementary culture. Please welcome Arnold van de Water.
Well, thank you so much for your kind introduction, and thank you so much for all being here today. I want to tell you a little bit more before we deep dive about Concrete Culture. I'm one of the co-founders for this organization, and our goal is to embed arts, culture, and technology in the long run within real estate and area developments. Because often what we see, and we all know that wherever place that you are coming from, that's often the creative class and the tech class that is actually initiating change and also creates socio-economic values in areas. And when the value goes up, that same socio-economic value growth is not always being equally shared by the ones that are creating it. And with concrete culture, we are designing systems, both on the real estate, financial, and legal side, how we really can create a sustainable way where basically it's a fortification where creativity can stay for the long run, not as a misuse or like a culture washing or greenwashing kind of element, but really to create incubator spaces where you can work on future problems of the future. Basically, I can only do one thing my whole life. I'm a producer. I was born in theater, literally. My mother was a choreographer, my uncle danced at the National Ballet, and when you could stand upright and say, "Welcome, madam or sir," you were actually helping in the theater. And when I tried to explain the job that I do, is then I had to use a horrible word, or that is called, I make immersive experiences. Or actually, the years before the word immersing came in, it was, I make experiences. Well, you can have a whole debate about what is an immersive experience or what is a good experience in general. If you look at experience design, there are many theories, but I think one important one is to mention is one of the game changers that was, I think, 25 years been published. The experience economy, I think if you are marketing, this is like one of the first books you're going to read. It was interesting also to hear in one of the other speeches as well about automation and the time that has been saved in that process and how that would impact economics. But if you basically talk about an experience, it's not necessarily about creating a nice image or a fancy place. It's actually a very hard economic fact in the ordering of our economics. Longer time ago, we started making commodities, getting oil out of the ground or coal or coffee. After that, we start making products, like a product-oriented society, and after that, services came. What they all share is basically time well saved and price. So when a product or an industry gets standardized, it's basically who's going to do the fastest delivery or for the best price. Look at online retail. If Amazon does it one day faster for the same product than their competitor, people are not super loyal and they would tend to go for the price and the time they save. With creating an experience model, it's actually the other way around. It's actually consumers want to spend as much time as they can. Time well spent. And it comes often and been applied in the entertainment industry or the cultural industry, but actually, no matter which line of field of work you are active, it can be applicable actually on all industries as well. A lot of tech people, I think, today in the room, but for instance, when retail was dying, Apple stepped into the game in opening stores. And the stores was actually not designed to make as much profit as they could. It was actually about how can we inform client or potential customers about the products. So basically, what happened was that, for instance, the Apple stores are now the most popular and highest revenue stores in the world. Around 15,000 euros per square meter of revenue has been made in a store. Is it then always digital? Well, we talk a lot today about digital, and I think digital is, of course, a very dominant element, and it's really going to the future. But experiencer can also be, in a nutshell, be very analog. It's not me on the bike, but I've been on this bike when doing a project in Portugal. I was surprised about life quality in Portugal in general and how relatively easy and cheap it was to have a living there. I bought every day a fresh a bottle of juice, and €1. And after day 1, day 2, day 3, I arrived at the store, wanted to do the same thing. I got a blender, and then suddenly they pointed to this bike, and I had to drive the bike to actually mix the juice. I think my taste and the selection was more horrible than the day before. And you know what? I had to not pay €1, but actually €3. And in a nutshell, is actually that is, and I'm still remembering this experience. So I wanted to pay more, had to wait longer, and still I wanted to consume this, well, actually as a client. Well, my background after being in theater within a young child, actually my journey started in creating large-scale festivals. 25 years ago, I think in lots of parts in the world, festivalization started, upscaling of events, often being outdoor. And what is really interesting is that some of you know, some of you don't. For instance, in this region, and actually in this country, we are probably one of the world champions of event producing. We are in the supply chain. A lot of is men created in this region. If you look at Formula One, the stages that you see on Formula One has actually been designed in this city. Why I'm showing it is that this vertical of the entertainment industry started as a cowboy, defragmented industry. And well, when I started, for instance, with this event, it was like 5,000, 6,000, and when I left, it was 95,000. It's not about the size nor that I did it, but it's actually you're creating a temporary city. So each domain, no matter if you're an artist or you're the supplier of toilets or restrooms, the campsite of this was 25,000 people alone. So we're building basically a village only for two weekends. And this industry really professionalized, and what I think was very key in that, they unitified. They unitified the collaboration between segments. I created this kind of technical productions for a long time, but I always try to look at the other side or the next door neighbor. What can you learn from each other? And what I found a very interesting domain was actually museums. And the way, what their mission is, of course, often a museum has two missions: to conserve their collection and to open it up to as many people as they can. But you also see that in the tradition, at least for the last 200 years, often the museum has also been presenting art in a very quite traditional way. Nothing may be wrong with it, but this is how we do it. We place a painting or another object against the wall. Sometimes there's like this small card saying oil painting 30 by 30. Okay, thanks. It's there. But I noticed that actually the domain didn't state the exclusive domain for presenting this kind of projects. And I was involved in a project called Body Worlds. Nothing digital about it, but already starting becoming emerging or immersive. It's a lifestyle exhibition about well, basically the machine that you carry all with you. Controversial in a way, but also actually it's a lifestyle exhibition. And what we found out is that after seeing this kind of exhibition, a lot of people start quit smoking, and not like an instant thing throwing a pack of cigarettes away, but actually we followed a group of visitors, and after 2 years, when throwing away their pack of cigarettes, they still stopped. So already you can see here the impact of creating immersive spaces. Now, my team and I were involved as a promoter or presenter in many different projects. For instance, in a project about a hybrid project around Titanic, using a lot of, not necessarily digital tools, but a lot of thematic and set work design that you see in theme parks to recreate the space, but with original artifacts from the seabed, from the wreckage of Titanic. And we continue to doing this process for many popular teams, work for companies like Pixar. This is a Lego exhibition by an artist that's actually using Lego as a medium, but most people know me for a project that started a decade ago, which has been, I think, copied 40 times in the world. One of the first Van Gogh experiences done for the Van Gogh Museum. Some of you know that Van Gogh was actually living also in this area for some time. The Van Gogh Museum is one of the most visited museums in the Netherlands and the west of Europe, 2.3 million visitors, but only 200 paintings. The largest collection of paintings in the world around this artist, but only 200 paintings. And this was a challenge in growing demand globally, but they cannot share all those paintings around the globe. So they start creating programs already going to the immersive and also the digital space to share knowledge about the life and work of Vincent. And we created this in a hybrid version where it's a combination of a lot of digital techniques, video mapping, tracking of visitors when walking in the exhibition. For instance, if you stand in front of this yellow house, there's a radar scanning you, then a certain tailored story starts in your own language. So we're offering it not in one language, but in multiple, so you can even, as a group or within a family, within your own language or level, experience the storyline. We also noticed that basically the change that you can evoke with this kind of setups is not only applicable for entertainment or museum space, but obviously you see it also happening in training and simulation, sometimes super serious, sometimes in a gamification kind of way. This is a project that we did. My partner Marjolein Vlaming was leading this project. I hear a lot about blockchain today. Well, a lot of those big consultancy firms, they all say already for 8 years, we need to go to the blockchain. And then you see everyone saying yes, and then you're a tax advisor, and you then think, no. So we created a project 1.5 years ago when this whole wave of image generation, generated art came up. We turned it around, said, okay, all your tax advisors, today you're an artist, 7,000 of them, and you can create your own art. We will create these large-scale art installations where basically you can have your name on it, etc. Went okay. Thousands and thousands of images were generated. But what's interesting in these kind of consultant firms, there's a bit of a competitive spirit. So we said, you can win a prize, but then you need to claim your authorship. So we're going to mint and drop this bundle of artworks. And actually what happened was that out of those 7,000 consultants and advisors, suddenly 1,500 or 2,000, which people were always or already were asked, join the change management program, suddenly they volunteering saying, okay, I want to have a digital wallet now because I want to claim my authorship, because I want to claim that I made this piece of art. Is then immersive experience or experiences, is that new? And there's a huge debate often when we are sharing these kind of ideas, it's always interesting to hear where you're coming from. Are you coming from the tech space? Are you coming from the creative industry? What is immersive experience? Because a lot of people have their own definition for it. Is it virtual reality? Is it something physical? Is it something online? But I think there's, in some way or the other, it's already for thousands of years with us. No matter if it's the early cave paintings or it's like in Pompeii, these large-scale murals that were already there, or maybe a little bit closer in time, connected to us, this installation of Robertson, Phantasmagoria, where basically a more or less Pepper Ghost kind of installation was created, and as was a performance where people were tricked that their ghost appearance was actually on the stage. So I think these are already early examples of being immersion. Also very analog is, of course, a lot of Dutch people know it in The Hague, the Panorama Mesdag. Basically a huge scale painting that goes 360 around it to recreate the experience of the North Sea beach at The Hague. And when, of course, technology became more and more advanced, well, I'm not sure, maybe someone else says there's an earlier version, but I think this is one of the first versions of VR, the Sensorama 1957, where you already could experience like more or less a virtual or disconnected space and place environment. During a lot of these projects, I noticed a couple of things. One of them is that if it comes to physical places to present this, no matter if it's like digital art presenting on a screen or 3D projection, there's often in the world a lack of space to really connect, both on a B2B level. And I think that's, for instance, it's so good what here is happening here at the high-tech campus with the 3D Reality Hub, where really there's the clustering of knowledge and experiment, but also the more B2C kind of applications. And to break that a couple of years ago, our project started touring in a tent, basically, because often the museum was too small to present it, and a conference center is not necessarily the place that you like to do it. And then, basically, this whole industry started to explode in different directions, like often people now refer to as an immersive experience as a team lab. I think that collective really set the example 10 years ago by being one of the first, not only having large-scale video projections, but actually also with LiDAR and the interactiveness that if you pass by and hit the wall, that the animation is changing. But it's also for the niche. Same kind of technology, maybe same kind of type of makers. This is an installation by Korean artist Jung-soo Kim at the Biennale 2 years ago. OLED LED screens been bended into very abstract sculpture. And that's also the interesting about the medium and the expression of the medium, that sometimes it can be addressed as masters like in a team lab installation or in a Van Gogh experience, but also can be really an autonomous work of art in a way that's been presented here. Obviously also for education purposes, I think most of us nowadays know Rafik Anadol, which was leading, I think, this first wave of generative art. But again, a lot of forms of expression in this immersive space, no matter if it's with a headset or actually physical. And interesting enough, I think this is also an example. It's Punch Drunk. It's an immersive theater play, so no digitalization at all. It's basically a theater play without any seating. So as a spectator, you walk and the actors are in between. What is actually interesting is one of the investors that is behind it, because it's actually the mother company of Pokemon. So it's interesting to see that also tech companies sometimes consider, like looking back, okay, we are tech, we are digital, but what can we learn from other industries? And I think an example, obviously this was a performing arts production, but the people behind it were also looking at human behavior and the interaction design that is behind that. Well, obviously I think impact, and that's what we all see, and what I also experienced it firsthand. So I was involved for 6 years as an advisor to the board for the Van Gogh Museum. Van Gogh Museum, I already mentioned it. It's the largest museum with around Van Gogh in the world. 400 people working 7 days a week to safeguard the collection and to make it as accessible as possible. And after 50 years, 2.3 million visitors are attending every year. Well, the interesting project is actually on the right side. So this is Atelier Lumière. There are many other derivatives out of it, but this is from the Atelier Lumière brand. They opened in 2020 in Paris, not necessarily on the most prime spot in the city. And in the first year alone, they already got more than 2.1 million visitors. Original, Science Center, Science Institute, Knowledge Institute, no original authentic art, at least in my dictionary, because it's more of a reinterpretation of existing imagery from the artist itself. And basically it's like a huge screensaver. So there's a lot of taste or ethics behind it, but you cannot neglect the fact that it's impactful and it's reaching a lot of people around the globe. So it also makes interest, how can you also make a positive impact in different formats? If you talk about inclusivity or about learning, and this I find also very interesting. One of our partners is Dreamscape Immersive, which is the VR branch of DreamWorks, the film studio of Steven Spielberg. They started with their vertical in entertainment space by reusing ABC cinemas in the US for VR activations. But actually their real vertical is Dreamscape Learn, where they're now accelerating and deploying their technology that they have learned how to apply it in entertainment in universities around the US. And one of the first large projects they are doing is with the Arizona State University. And what comes out of time, no matter which kind of education line you are, that students are basically performing 20 or 25% better during their exams if they at least have some part of VR training had experienced during their studies. One of the big challenges that I have had as a producer, but I also think as a, the industry as a whole, that it's almost ungrabbable. Like there's so many forms of experiences, but there's also so many applications and talent behind it. It's actually getting fragmented. You cannot even, although maybe you're a very big company, but often studios find it hard to really cluster that. So there's a lot of disciplines involved in outings for it, the applications and the talent that is needed. And basically that brings back to one of the first photos that I showed you, that when you look at the event industry, actually they became very mature or even more mature in the last 2 decades. They managed to overcome their own defragmentation and their ecosystem. But if you look at least as we see it, is that nowadays often there's a lack of space to experiment. We see there's a lack of infrastructure sometimes for distribution, like an open standard for platforms. If you have like this large-scale video projection that goes around you, if you are a cinema, you basically can have a license system, and you can order whatever film you want to have, pay the license, and it will be projected on the screen. But if you, for instance, do it with large-scale video projections, there's no uniform standard to organize that. And basically same for many other expressions of immersive experiences. And this is not something that we as Concrete Culture were noticing or our design studio was seeing as factor, but also the Dutch government is noticing it for a couple of years, and this resulted a couple of weeks ago in the announcement of a national growth fund. It's quite interesting, has a lot to do with it, and a lot of people are looking at how it will be evolved, but I think it's also inspiring for other countries as well, because this National Growth Fund is actually now trying to find use cases and to cluster this industry. And for instance, if you're an architect firm and everyone says you need to go into digital twinning, but basically your clients don't want to pay because they expect an AutoCAD drawing, there's a huge gap in the fit of what is possible and what actually clients want to pay. And that's also a part where the ecosystem that we are stepping in as a Concrete Culture. What you see around in the globe is that a lot of post-industrial buildings are being refitted for this kind of immersive spaces, sometimes more for consumer purposes and sometimes hybrid or B2B. This is, for instance, Kraftwerk in Berlin, an old energy plant, which has also been used for large-scale projects. Interestingly, is this a techno party or is it an art installation? Who knows? Oh, it's an art installation, and that's also the interesting thing, that sometimes by judging the cover, it's not necessarily it's what it is, and it's also well, it's not typically the gray box or the black box or the white cube in a museum. These kind of places really take different kinds of shape. I click a little bit around this. There's a lot of things that is needed to create these hubs. And we are making here one in Eindhoven, and which is called Koolhuis District Eindhoven. Some of you may know the city. This city, of course, is a remarkable Renaissance city where 25, 30 years ago, technically almost the city went bankrupt by the transition of mass consumer production goods to high-tech knowledge and design. And interesting enough, with the success of the city, what we see happening now is that high-tech is actually claiming a lot of that success, but it was also the design in the creative industry that was also helping that sparking and that growth. And the city on the west side is now almost finished, I think, in their redevelopment stage, but you see that actually now more and more to the east side, there's actually a new district coming up, a new area that will be really the center and crossing a bridge between technology and creativity. And that is, I think, very important, because often in these kind of times where we have such huge challenges in society, I don't believe we have the luxury anymore to say these are creative people and these are tech people. Actually, you see it already happening that artists are coming with technical solutions, or trained engineers suddenly become an artist. And immersive experience is actually the exponent expression of that. And that I find very interesting topic. These are few visuals for the building. Koolhuis, or cooling house in English, because it was actually holding the national Dutch ice cream storage. It was like 10 million kilos of ice stored and waiting for consumption around the Netherlands and in the rest of Europe. Very interesting for us, it's that as it's been built as for thermal isolation, we are now redeveloping it, and we can make it completely soundproof. So instead of having thermal isolation, we can also now make a lot of noise in the building, which really help. And that is also, I think, very interesting to think of. Mass-scale industry gave us a lot, and these buildings gave us a lot. And when they're transformed in their new life cycle, actually they are very useful, and not, for instance, in this building, it was actually a storage to provide food for the masses. And maybe it actually is now providing food for the mind for the masses. Actually, this is how we see it. We are currently redeveloping it. And the difference, I think, with other projects in the world is that we also create a complete district around it. So Koolhuis Eindhoven is a hub, a large space where we can really present and experiment. But as I already told at the beginning, concrete culture stands for really embedding it for the long run. And how we do that is basically by creating a residential program around it, around 700 apartments, 100% social and affordable. So that if you graduate in this city, or if you are a starter in the market, basically you can also stay living here within the city center and not being expelled because it becomes unaffordable. And what we also do is that basically in the model that we have is that the maker spaces that are all on the ground floor, basically in our model is for us another profit center. So basically we are providing them also again for the creative community. So you can live, work and experiment and present at the same space. I'll click a little bit because of time to some slides. But as you can here see, these are the renders for the final stage when we are done in 2 years. We're starting now in the first stage by renovating the Koolhuis, the main building itself, and then creating the new build. And I think that's also an interesting in the model that we're searching for, is that often when you create an incubator or where natural incubators originates, it's often in these abandoned places. But if you create a new place, a new build, how can you also capture this same creative spirit where basically the community is being evoked to do knowledge exchange and do interdisciplinary collaboration? We already done a few projects, mainly art projects, sometimes very analog, sometimes very digital. This is a hybrid project called The Sound of Heritage. So the artist Daniel Malman uses a lot of digital software and techniques, Ableton and Touch Designer, and a lot of other tools. And he's connecting it to analog instruments like a piano, where if he's playing, basically all kinds of pneumatic hammers are banging against the walls of the building, and the building itself becomes an instrument. So you're walking in the instrument instead of being a spectator to stage. Also creating again this sense of immersion. We were happy and very pleased that the Design Academy Eindhoven was presenting and capturing their graduation artworks for their catalog. And maybe it's nice also to see a short clip. So it gives you a little bit of an impression of what we're doing here in Eindhoven. We are running a little bit late. I just want to conclude with the fact that actually, besides this project, we have also a project in Rotterdam, which is the twin of Eindhoven, and we do this really on purpose because we strongly believe that within the Netherlands, both Brainport and the other main port, the port of Rotterdam, are really cities that are sharing a certain spirit. And that's why these two venues and these two hubs actually are also creating cross-pollination within the immersive experience ecosystem within the two cities. And from these hubs, we also actually connecting within other labs within the Netherlands, but also are inviting and working together with international counterparts. So thank you so much for having time that I can give you the presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them during the... Oh, you have still some time. Oh, you said you need to rush.
Now we need to rush. Not really rush, but I was already informed that the worstenbroodjes were served and warm. So we have 2 minutes. We have time for 2 questions. I mean, I think, I really enjoyed your keynote. And I was actually thinking, usually when I go to a museum, you go from art piece to art piece. But lately I was actually at the Kunsthal, a beautiful exhibition from Reimagine, one of my famous artists. And in the end, I just saw myself like 45 minutes in the same room, like all the time, experiencing and enjoying. So I can totally see, why this is such a big thing. And more and more, also traditional musea are actually experimenting with this. But I'm curious, is it possible to, with these immersive experiences, to really measure impact?
Definitely, and I think what's also very interesting that more and more research is done with it. Of course, you can get a lot of data out of during the visit or afterwards. You also see that there's a lot of research now been done, especially within the VR part of the spectrum, to measure the impact of immersion. Like, does it do something physically with you? Is it raising your heartbeat? You can imagine, for instance, if you need to look at, is this a good training simulation for defense in the military, then you can do the VR and they look at, okay, how is the trained person been reacting? Yeah. And in an entertainment or more cultural domain, these kind of measurements and interactions is also very possible. Interestingly enough, what our takeout is from a lot of exhibition projects is that I'm personally a very visual person, and it gives also very spectacular
I can see from your presentation, yeah.
But interestingly, audio is a very important element in the experience. So when we do this large-scale visitor ratings and tracking, 9 out of 10 times they say it's the audio that was really making a difference or a lasting impact.
Wow. Yeah. Also questions here from the audience. Of course, the magic word AI. How can generative AI enhance experience in this industry?
Well, that's of course also a controversial topic in terms of there's a lot of, for instance, with the models, how they are trained, and also the claims from artists that say, well, with my artwork, the model is trained. I think there's definitely some safety rules needed, but in terms of one of the trends is this chaotic kind of experiences. So there's not a direct narrative. You, as a visitor, can actually go wherever you like. Actually, a lesson that we learned from the gaming industry, right? You see it in experiences like in America with Maya Wolf, where basically you can spend as much time in a space. And I think with the help of AI, for instance, you can endlessly create new spaces based on a certain set of data or keywords that you use as a guide rail to create the experience. So I think that kind of is very impactful. And then, of course, the instant translation and transcribing, for instance, of knowledge. When we do something within the museum and you need to translate it to a new territory, it's like endlessly. But with the power of AI, instantly we can basically copy a complete exhibition in a new language form. So there are so many challenges and also opportunities in this domain.
Yeah, and to conclude this conversation, what is the one thing? going back, we've seen so many cool things, and I think for a lot of people, it might already look very futuristic. Wow, I mean, yeah, it's already there, all these immersive installations. What is this one really cool development that you're looking forward to in the upcoming months that you might expect, or that is already, you know, being built? There's one technological development.
Yeah. I don't, you know, I strongly believe in technology, but I believe that it's always about us as humans, right? And I think that what is so interesting now, what's actually not happening in the next month, but actually now more and more collaboration starts. And I think out of that collaboration, and that's also inspiring to hear, for instance, with the previous panel, it's not about competition, it's about sharing and then building together and go faster. I believe that is, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Wonderful. Arnold van der Water, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, ladies and gentlemen, as already mentioned, the smell of warm worstenbroodjes is filling the audience. So I'm going to keep it very quick. But before we're going actually to the lunch, I really would like to have one more big applause for the speakers. Okay, have one big hand. Some of them flying in from Barcelona, coming in from all parts of Europe. So we're very thankful for them sharing all their knowledge and insights here at the stage. Also, a very big hand for the high-tech campus hosting us and both the organizing partners, Metacampus and Reality. Thank you so much for bringing this event here together today. Yeah, as mentioned, you're invited for a very tasty networking lunch. And as mentioned, there's also some very cool tech demos. So make sure you're going to visit the tech demos. And at the end of the lunch, I think Philip will be guiding you towards this very beautiful virtual art exhibition, right? Wonderful. So if you're interested in visiting the Reality Lab and the art exhibition, definitely see Philip after lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been an amazing audience. Many thanks to also all the great questions to the speakers. I hope we can continue this conversation at the Reality Lab and at a next GM event. Hope to see you there. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
We don't need nobody, I just need your body. Nothing but sheets in between us, ain't no getting up early. You know I'm always on the night shift, and you can stand these nights alone. Yeah, you don't need no explanation, 'cause baby I'm the boss at home. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 but I gotta put in work. I ain't gotta go to work, 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 work. Let your body do the work, 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 work. We can work from home. We can work from home. We can work from home. I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home, oh, oh, oh. Loving you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home, oh, oh, oh. Loving you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know.
Wasted. The more I drink, the more I think about you. No, I can't take it. Baby, every place I go reminds me of you.
Do you think of me, what we used to be? Is it better now that I'm not around? Our friends are acting strange, don't bring up your name. Are you happy now? Are you happy now?
I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home? Love you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no, 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 who's taking you home, oh, oh, oh. Love you so, 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 so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know.
Every time I go out, yeah, hear me from this one, hear me from that one, that you got someone new. Yeah, I say but don't believe it, 'cause even in my head, you're still in my bed. Maybe I'm just a fool. Do you think of me? style. No more hashtag booed up screenshots. No more trying to make me jealous on your birthday. You know just how I made you better on your birthday. Do it like this? Do we like this? Do we lay it down for you, touch your like this? Matter of fact, never mind, will I let the past be? Maybe it is right now, but your body still. I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up? Love you so. The way I used to love you, no, I don't wanna know, no. Who's taking you up? Love you so. The way I used to love you, oh, I don't wanna know.
Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my word and close. And tonight had something wonderful. My bed every since lies and be alone. Conversations with a stranger, and you know, experiments to realize, but it probably won't. I can let lose or use or do my best if it's this way. I experience things, and I'm never lose control of the things that I say. Yeah, I was looking for a way, and now I can't escape. But there's nothing substitute. It's true, my bad habits get to you. My bad habits get to you. My bad habits get to you. Every pure intention ends when the good times stop. Falling over everything through it's the first time.